Meeting of the Antiquities Advisory Board has been properly posted with the Secretary of State's office according to the provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551, Texas Government Code. The members may discuss and/or take action on any of the items listed in the agenda. Commissioners, for the record, please state your name and city of residence, starting with Commissioner with Garcia.
Okay. Lilia Garcia, Raymondville.
Mike Akey, Fredericksburg.
Did
Did I go out of order?
no. Go ahead. I'm
Laurie
sorry.
Limbacher, Austin.
Kay Hines, Pleasanton.
Go down to AB. Doug Boyd, representing the Texas Archaeological Society from Austin.
Eleanor Stoddard, representing State Agency Archaeology's position, TPWD, Houston.
Rick Lewis, architect from San Antonio.
Tina Nielsen, representing the Council of Texas Archaeologists, Austin, Texas.
Joaquin Rivaya Martinez, historian from Austin.
Bob Ward, historian, Austin, Texas.
Okay, thank you. We have no absences to note. The minutes of the previous meeting, number 122 from November the 7th. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a quorum. The minutes of the previous meeting, number 122 from November the 7th, 2025, have been distributed. Are there any corrections or objections to the minutes? Hearing none, I move to approve the minutes. We'll now have reports, division reports by Brad Jones and Elizabeth Brummett.
Good morning, Antiquities Advisory Board, Commissioners. Good to see you. Brad Jones, State Archaeologist and Archaeology Division Director. This is not on your agenda, so here's my surprise presentation for the morning. Chairman Now has asked me to discuss NAGPRA, just give an overview of NAGPRA in the state of Texas to kind of bring the commissioners and other members up to speed. So I'm going to kind of give you first a methodological approach as to how I did this, because the THC's role is not to know about everything in NAGPRA. It is a federal law which covers Native American grave goods and cultural items of cultural significance. I suppose I should explain what NAGPRA means for those who may be unfamiliar. It's the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. And what it does is it states that ancestors from Native American communities that are in storage and repositories, universities, any facility that receives any sort of federal funding or permitting are required to be consulted with the Native American tribes with which they are related, and then ideally repatriated and returned to the tribes so that they can be laid to rest. There have been changes to the NAGPRA laws. In particular, in 2024, they were changed slightly, which was meant to facilitate a greater ability for groups to claim individuals based on geographic proximity, not just there was a high bar for asserting whether or not these items were related to particular tribes based on historical connections. Part of that change also required that within 5 years, all the facilities holding NAGPRA collections repatriate them. That's a wonderful idea and a really big project. And so to kind of set the stage for you, I want to talk about what we know about Texas by using the NAGPRA database, which is available online. And the problem with the database, and what I want to point out here before I give you this data, is I don't know when it's updated. And I know enough about NAGPRA in Texas to know it's not correct. In particular, it is not comprehensive. There are facilities across the state that hold NAGPRA collections that did not do the original reporting back in the late 90s when NAGPRA went into effect. So what I present to you here is meant to be a kind of a snapshot of the situation in Texas, but it is not a comprehensive in total. And it's not just that there aren't collections that are not present on this list. There are also collections that have been repatriated. So again, please take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, but I think it makes the point we all need to understand and that Chairman Now wanted me to express to you all. And this is just the website, so you can go do this research on your own if you're interested. So let's start with just sort of a summary of NAGPRA collections. So, nationwide, the NAGPRA database holds over 80,000 different collections which were identified as subject to NAGPRA. From Texas, we have 3,332 from 157 of our counties. You can see in the graphic next to it, again, this is pulled from a little spreadsheet I made to be able to do this. These are just the counties with the highest numbers of individuals that are reported in this database. It's interesting, Nueces at the top. I say that's interesting because Nueces is currently, a lot of those are in the process of repatriation through TARL. There was a non-federally recognized tribe that made a claim on Nueces County and asked for full repatriation of all individuals, and they were then supported by the Mescalero tribe of, they're in New Mexico, who are now the federal sponsor. So one of the issues with NAGPRA, I should have said this earlier, is it's really meant for federally recognized tribes to be the primary points of contact and driver of the repatriation process. But over time, we've seen that non-federally recognized tribes, of which in Texas there are a number, have been using NAGPRA to try to claim cultural items. So, you know, ideally, the Nueces County one's actually working out in an ideal fashion in the sense that the non-federally recognized tribes are now being supported by a federally recognized group to get this repatriation done, which is being undertaken with the Archaeological Conservancy, who hold a property in Nueces County where the tribes feel they can be safely repatriated. So a little bit of a NAGPRA success story to start off. So you can see NAGPRA collections in Texas. There are a total of, there are 45 facilities in this database that have collections from Texas. 24 of these facilities are actually in Texas. But you can see that we have NAGPRA collections from Texas that are actually spread out all over the country. You know, back particularly in the early 20th century, researchers would go out, make these collections, and they ended up spread out all over the place. University of Alabama, Arizona State Museum. We met with the Caddo last week. They recently went to Alaska and picked up a collection there. And a lot of these collections went in very interesting ways. The Alaska collection got there via a swap with another facility in Texas. So they traded their Texas stuff for some Alaska stuff. So you can see sort of the mess that NAGPRA is trying to clean up. And, you know, as we look at it, we have to understand it's not just Texas, but our Texas cultural resources are spread out all over the country. All right, so this is just kind of a drill down on facilities in Texas that are listed in here. You can see that the University of Texas, Texas Archaeological Research Lab does have the highest number of reported individuals. M&I up there, I'm not trying to cover all of the potential objects under NAGPRA. Sacred cultural items beyond burial goods are also considered subject to NAGPRA. We're looking here simply at individuals or burials that are considered here. So you can see West Texas A&M, Panhandle Plains, that's a facility we've been talking about. They have the second highest number of the state, and you can just go down the list. Again, you know, when you look at this, these original numbers are often not accurate because the counts that were made at the time were often done by people who did not have specific human osteological analysis. So as we move through collections, we're finding that human remains are in faunal collections, so items that were said to be animal bone. When you get a professional in there looking at them, they find out that they've actually got elements of human remains in them as well. So again, this gives you a sense of the scope, but it is not a comprehensive or necessarily accurate representation. Yes, Commissioner Limbacher.
There are 10 items listed in the possession of the Texas Historical Commission.
You are correct.
Where
And,
are those?
those are at the Curatorial Facility for Artifact Research. We have put together a complete re-inventory in consultation with the 29 federally recognized tribes in Texas. You know, I could talk about this in a minute, but I'll use your question to kind of broach this topic. You know, one of the issues here is NAGPRA is a great idea, but it puts the financial and the work burden often on the tribes themselves. And most tribes have, you know, if they have 2 NAGPRA representatives in the tribe, that's great. Most of them have 1, or they have 1 person who's doing all sorts of different jobs. So with our collections, we've had our collections visited by representatives of the Alabama Coushatta, the Mescalero Apache tribe. They've helped us make sure that our collections are being stored in a respectful and appropriate way. But because they trust us, we are not a high priority in their repatriation move. So you see this kind of across the spectrum, I find, is that facilities that have collections that are considered to be acting in good faith are often a much lower priority for these NAGPRA folks to actually work with. There are facilities that are not acting in good faith, or that there is imminent danger of these collections being lost or in some way damaged, so those rise to the level. I was going to mention this earlier, but in addition to NAGPRA, NAGPRA is specifically a collections-based law, except on federal property, where it also takes into account research. But a lot of what many sort of the lay audience calls NAGPRA is often Section 106 consultation. So as construction projects happen around the country and across the state, when burials are encountered, these become imminent, necessary actions to be taken by the tribal representatives. So a lot of the work being done for NAGPRA isn't being done because they're so busy working with the collections that are being uncovered right now. So for example, Bodark Lake, that's a reservoir project. They have the Caddo are dealing with over 200 sets of human remains that were removed as part of that reservoir construction project. So obviously these are not in facilities, so these often take precedence in terms of when and how they are being dealt with by the federally recognized tribes that have the responsibility.
Quick question, Brad.
Yes.
This data that you're sharing on the slides refers just to human remains?
Correct. So the M&I number up there is minimum number of individuals. It's kind of tricky because, for example, out in East Texas, Caddo burials, the soils are very acidic, so they often result in the loss of all the human bone. So what the individual is actually represented by are the grave goods associated with that burial. And I kind of referred to this earlier. I should have just gone ahead and push the button. So in addition to Section 106, there are a lot of facilities that for various reasons claim they were not subject to NAGPRA. A recent case, and this was actually in the news, is the Gregg County Historical Museum. They had a tremendously large collection of burial items collected by Buddy Calvin Jones, who's a local Texas guy who later went on to be the Florida state archaeologist. The collections were held in that facility. I had actually been out there and met with them and discussed with them their NAGPRA responsibilities, and they said, we don't get any federal funding and we don't have any federal permits. And then COVID happened, and they got a COVID grant. About, 6 months ago, the Caddo pulled up with 2 moving trucks and repatriated the entire collection. But that's a lot of stuff that isn't on here. So again, when we look at the scope of what these tribes are dealing with, it's really important to understand that it's bigger than what I'm going to show you today. And then I just want to stop on a few recent events that have occurred. This January, Amanda Hill of the Kiowa tribe reached out to us. Some of you, I hope all of you are aware of the MOU we recently signed with the Caddo Nation. It's getting a lot of interest from our tribal partners because part of our MOU with the Caddo Nation involves assisting the Caddo Nation in the repatriation of Caddo ancestors across the state. Again, this is something we're doing in part because we maintain Caddo Mound State Historic Site, but also because our agency is very well positioned with the connections to all these facilities and these individuals to assist in building these relationships and getting this work done. So Amanda reached out to us. She was discussing their very similar issues. The Kiowa have a lot of ancestral remains that are being kept in Texas. They don't have anywhere to bury them, and they don't have staff to deal with NAGPRA. So what came out of that conversation was an interest in developing a potential summit in Texas between the federally recognized tribes and the institutions that are holding these. This is already beginning to happen. A group has formed somewhat organically, being led by Maggie Moore, one of our former THC staff who's now at Trinity University assisting with their NAGPRA obligations, to develop a community of practice in the state of Texas to get these conversations going. We would like to think that the THC has a really golden opportunity here to maybe kind of host and help facilitate this. So I wanted to get this on Commissioner's radar, that it might be something of interest. I know Chairman now has gotten very interested in NAGPRA since our MOU with the Caddo Nation, and he got to speak with their Chief Representative, Bobby Gonzalez, and kind of, I think, got a real good sense of the enormity of this issue. Which gets me back to something I've already talked about. The THC's Memorandum of Understanding with the Caddo Nation, as I said, identifies us as a collaborator to assist in NAGPRA repatriation. The past week, I was at Caddo Mound State Historic Site with a number of our staff, representatives of the Caddo Nation's Tribal Council, discussing that site. Caddo Mound State Historic Site is a Caddo burial site and a sacred site. There are ancestral remains that were excavated years ago, back when it was private property, that are now at the Texas Archaeological Research Lab. We've been assisting them in facilitating that eventual transfer. And in our meeting last week, what we discussed was something that's in the MOU, which is the development of a repatriation center for the Caddo at Caddo Mound State Historic Site, as well as the identification of a possible keep-safe cemetery for these items and other ones from across the state to be repatriated into. As I mentioned briefly, one of the biggest issues with tribes is they don't have lands to repatriate these ancestors to. And ideally, they want to repatriate them in locations which are close to the original location from which they were removed. We had incredibly productive talks. You will hear more about this, I think, at our next quarterly meeting. And we have really kind of come to a preliminary agreement about how we might move forward with that at Caddo Mound State Historic Site. And I know Chairman Now will be with Chairman Gonzalez from the Caddo Nation on April 2nd, visiting the site and discussing this. So we're really looking forward to the opportunity to assist the Caddo in this and, really assisting and forging these relationships and getting NAGPRA dealt with as we move forward. Yes, Commissioner Limbacher.
Is another possible outcome of this summit, the Caddo Mounds Historic Site is a logical place to consider reburying these remains. Do we have any other sites that might be considered in the same way?
So one of the issues that we've discovered is with the Texas Health and Safety Code, the way the cemetery laws are built, one of the main concerns for tribes is there is not, and I would love to, and there is interest in the tribes in potentially advancing this in the next legislative session, there is not a category of cemetery specifically for the repatriation of archaeological materials. And one of the, idealistic aspects of the Health and Safety Code is that when you create a new cemetery, there are rules about not allowing, you can't choose who gets buried there. You can't say only certain people can get buried there. So the tribes become very concerned that individuals who are not tribally affiliated may, there's some folks out there who have interesting ideas about their heritage, and the Caddo and the other tribes really want to be able to say, this is only appropriate for our tribally affiliated remains. Their interest is not in burying contemporary Caddo folks there. They have cemeteries for their own, current tribal members, but they want to know that these are safe. So this has actually been quite a roadblock, even in some of TxDOT's consultations, is finding a location where people are comfortable with actually repatriating these remains. I know in Nacogdoches, some of them have been repatriated into the local cemeteries. The tribes will buy plots. On federal lands in Texas, there have been some repatriation cemeteries created, but these are, of course, federal lands. It's a totally different animal, right? And there is the case, I mentioned Bodark Lake. That is one where the water board that runs the lake actually set aside and sold to the Caddo Nation a plot of land to achieve repatriation of that particular group of excavated individuals. So it's a huge problem, and I think, if there were legislation which would allow the creation of these, this would allow, say, University of Texas, with a tremendous amount of state lands, to select a location and facilitate the repatriation.
Right, well, it sounds like, on the surface, it seems like it would be a simple issue, but it's complicated.
It's
So
complicated.
Thank you for your attention.
And I've already been bugging Kristen about this. So, all right. Are there any other questions?
Other states?
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Could I ask a question? Why couldn't you use a dedicated perpetual care cemetery and give them a section in the cemetery, no different than any other religious organization does today? So that exists for repatriation.
So the concern becomes security. Unfortunately, we know from past events that the same collectors who dug up collections will often go into these. So there's just, it's a privacy concern on the part of the tribes. They really want to be able to control completely. This has happened. I mean, this has happened. It's just not the ideal choice for them. And I think it's hard to comprehend the volume. I mean, we're talking potentially acres of space that need to be carved out. And that's just for one tribe. So,
But you use it by the square inch.
yeah.
And so even with an acre, you can put up to 50,000 burials on an acre of land. So how many acres do you need?
I don't know because we don't know the scope of it. But we had, for example, like I said, with the Gregg County Museum, there were over 2 moving trucks full of materials. And they're not just individuals, they're also large-scale pots, other funerary goods that were recovered. So,
Well, I'd happy to speak to you offline.
Yeah.
And give you some thoughts and some suggestions because we've done that.
Yeah.
I mean, we still have a license to relocate and repatriate human remains of any person.
yeah,
Okay, I'm here for you.
glad to hear it.
Brenda, I was just asking for precedent from other states. Are you looking at other models and people that are maybe out ahead of this, or we're out ahead of this, given the volume?
I think we're kind of out ahead of this.
Yeah.
We're actually, I mean, I know Oregon has developed a similar repatriation facility for their state. So, there are other states. And one of the tricks with Texas is we're so much private land,
Yeah.
right? So other states that have large federal properties and things like that, they're able to do these sorts of repatriations more simply because there's a lot more locations.
If you do this summit, don't miss the opportunity to have people that have precedence in their own states or come in as guest speakers, because I think
Absolutely.
not other than just reports from them be one thing, but inviting a few people that have done this, I think would be very meaningful to the tribes.
Oh, absolutely. And, and we're talking about Texas, but, I'll use the Caddo as an easy example. They've got their ancestral lands are Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas. So they're already dealing with all these different states. So we get to hear a little bit about, both the progress and the problems across the country.
Thank you, Brad. Great overview.
Thank you. Okay, I'm not done. All right. And here's my regular boring AAB report. So just a report on first quarter permits that were issued. We had a little bit smaller amount issued. I had 147 Texas Antiquities Code permits that we issued from September 1st to November 30th. You can see there were 161 the previous year. This is probably in part due to uncertainty with federal funding for projects. I know, particularly TxDOT, I'm seeing a lot less permitting going on at the moment. And here's how they break down. Again, no big surprise here. Almost always intensive survey, far and by far the largest category of archaeological projects we are permitting. A number of monitoring, reconnaissance, quite a lot of underwater surveys this time. I give Amy Borgens a hard time. She's like, I've got so many permits. And I'm like, really? You got 8. But, it is a lot for her. So, I'm not going to read it to you. You can see it, and it's in your packet. There's also a list of all the permits that were issued in this period in your packet. So, that I will switch to Elizabeth.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Antiquities Advisory Board members. I'm Elizabeth Brummett, the Director of the Division of Architecture. We had strong permitting activity in the first quarter of fiscal year 26, with 15 permits issued across a variety of permit categories, again, primarily concentrated in rehabilitation and restoration, with a number of new construction permits as well. Some of the notable permits that were issued included the Kimball County Courthouse for that full restoration project that's now under construction. We had multiple permits in the Camp Mabry Historic District issued, as well as the preservation of the garden walls at the Alamo, which you heard at the last meeting. Of course, we got that permit issued shortly thereafter, as well as the retroactive permit for the work at Fair Park at the Cotton Bowl. So you've got a full list of those permits that were issued in your packet, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Okay, thank you. Oop. All right, are we ready for it? I guess it's not quite time. We have 5
Not quite
minutes.
time.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We'll wait until 9 o'clock when we will then meet with the full commission. So that's about a 5-minute break.
No, thank you.
What is it?
Yeah. Came prepared.
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. We'll catch up sometime. It's almost Kansas, Nebraska, the predators, the hawks have all come. Yes, sir. So it took 30 years, 40 years to bring the hawks, birds of prey back. He's got to do this. And their numbers are growing. And so those are proliferated when there were the birds of prey out of them. And now they're breeding. And the other predators, coyotes, came out. So pheasant are, we cut across the plains to go in our farm a lot. We used to always see them 30 years
Everyone,
ago.
it's 9 o'clock. Excuse me.
And now you rarely see them.
If all the commissioners will be seated, please.
But We'll talk.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started, so if you'll take your seats and quiet down.
You have a gavel? You bring your gavel?
So, good morning, everyone. I'm trying. All right, couple of housekeeping items. To avoid any disruptions, please silence your cell phones at this time. Public comments will only be taken today, January 30th, 2026, in person only. If anyone would like to address the commission, please make sure you filled out a form found on the table at the entrance to the room. Keep in mind, no one will be allowed to yield their time to another person. So I'm going to call the commission to order. Today is January 30th, 2026. The time is now 9:01. This meeting of the Texas Historical Commission has been properly posted with the Secretary of State's office according to the provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. The commission may discuss and/or take action on any of the items listed on the agenda. One note, the THC may go into executive session, closing its meeting to the public on any agenda item if appropriate and authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. We will now stand and say the pledges of allegiance. The words to the U.S. and Texas pledges will be on the screen for your convenience. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, so we got the pledges done. We're going to do commissioner introductions for the record. Commissioners, please state your name and city of residence, starting with commissioners on my right. I don't know who's down there.
David Gravel, Highland Park, Texas.
Dick Tips, San Antonio, Texas.
Ted Houghton, El Paso, Texas.
Pete Peterson, Alpine.
Catherine McKnight, Dallas.
Garrett Donnelly, Midland.
Jamie Steen, Houston.
Mike Hagee, Fredericksburg.
Lilia Garcia, Raymondville.
Laurie Limbacher, Austin.
Kay Hines, Pleasanton.
Is that all of us? Okay. So thank you. We do have a quorum present, and I declare the meeting open. I know we have a couple of absences, Crane and Duty. Wait, I thought Duty. Duda, sorry. Okay, so, and Chairman Now will be back in just a minute, so we'll have him introduced when he gets back. So unless there are no objections to the excusing of the absence for Commissioner John Crane and Commissioner Fritz Duda, hearing none, those absences are excused. And we will move on to public comments. So members of the public may address the commission concerning any matter within the authority of the commission. At this time, we will take public comment. Everyone will be limited to 3 minutes per person, and no one will be allowed to yield their time to another person. The public may address the commission concerning any matter within the authority of the commission. So our first one is Jessica Hutchins on the Polk County Courthouse supplemental funding. Come on up.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, my name is Jessica Hutchins, and I'm the Polk County Grant and Contract Coordinator working on restoring our county courthouse. I would like to say a big thank you to the Texas Historical Commission for your funding assistance, your professional guidance, and your steady support throughout this project. I've been with this courthouse restoration since round 10 planning grant in 2018, and it's truly been a privilege to stand here today as this project approaches the finish line. Restoring our courthouse has been quite the story. Over the course of this project, we've had the opportunity to work with 8 different THC reviewers and each reviewer found something new and unique about our courthouse, details that we had never noticed before. Because of that, this project just didn't restore a building, it helped us understand it more deeply. Along the way, we faced more than a few challenges. After plans were approved, we had to redesign when electrical systems conflicted with existing utilities. When sewer lines couldn't be located, we lost valuable time. A new tax assessor was elected, which required us to rethink the office layouts and ensure that essential services could remain housed in the courthouse. After receiving our grant award, we discovered the roof needed replacement. In the midst of it all, COVID pandemic arrived, inflating construction costs by nearly 150%. Our journey to completing the courthouse has truly been one of a kind. Through it all, I am deeply grateful for the knowledge the Texas Historical Commission's representatives shared with us. When I began this project, I had very little interest or understanding of historic preservation. And today I find myself stopping at historic sites on family vacations and feeling more connected to my community by learning and talking about its history. That changes because of you. I want to offer a special thanks to Susan Teets for always being there to oversee our project through multiple reviewers and many challenges. Her advocacy for our courthouse never wavered, and she has been a pleasure to work with and an invaluable resource with program expertise. Thank you to the Commission for your support, your patience, and your guidance. Thank you for helping us see the project through. Thank you for helping Polk County consolidate services to one place and for helping us accomplish a plan that was created 26 years ago. We couldn't have done this without you, and we cannot wait to welcome you back to the Polk County for our grand reopening later this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Jessica. Okay. Next one is Karen Elizabeth Moore, supplemental funding for Freestone County Courthouse.
Good morning. My name is Karen Elizabeth Moore. I'm the administrative assistant for the county judge and courthouse steward for Freestone County. On behalf of Judge Lloyd Lane and Commissioners Andy Bonner, Will McSwain, Richard McGowan, and Clyde Ridge, we want to thank y'all for the consideration of supplemental funding for our project. A year ago, tomorrow, I stood in front of y'all and gave a big speech about how much this courthouse meant to me. I'm a fourth generation Freestone County resident. I grew up going by this courthouse every single day of my life. And I've worked for the county almost 5 years, in the county judge's office for almost 4. And being a part of the courthouse and working there has always been a big deal to me. And now that I've been working on this project since I've been in the county judge's office, it's such a big deal to me. And seeing that we're this much closer to achieving the full restoration of our courthouse is something that little 5-year-old Karen is just screaming in joy and everything about. So Freestone County is one, everybody supports each other. The Texas Historical Commission has done that for us through all of this. And we're very appreciative and we're very thankful for y'all granting us the funding for our county courthouse restoration and the possible supplemental funding for our county courthouse. We're dedicated to bringing this courthouse back to life. It's over 100 years old, and it deserves to be back in the spotlight as the beacon, as it is in the legit geographical center of the county. And that's what it was meant to be, was to be the geographical beacon of our county. And we are dedicated to doing that. So I just want to say thank y'all, and yeah, sorry. A little nervous. Thank you.
Well done. Yeah, thank you, Karen. We appreciate that. And I know we're all excited to see these courthouses get restored. It's one of the joys of this commission is to do these courthouses. So thank you. Sam Collins, Levi Jordan.
Good morning. Welcome to the warm city of Houston. I'm I'm with the Levi Jordan Advisory Committee, and I want to just give you an update on some of the activities that we're doing and events that we have planned next month. On February 7th, we're going to have an art talk with Andrew Thompson. On the 21st, we're going to have a community meeting, February 21st, and on February 28th, we're going to do a project researching marriage records. I want to thank THC for the continued support of the work that we're doing in the community and the continued support of the project to build the museum there. You know, often the work that we do with preservation and history looks back, but I want to encourage you and share something with you that will help us to look forward. I want you to think back when you were 12 years old. Imagine your family buying a new home, and then 4 days later, that home being burned down. This is the story of a native Texan, Miss Opal Lee, but she did not hold hate in her heart for what happened in 1939. She moved forward and was positive in the work that she did as a teacher, counselor, and others. So when we think about living Texas history, Miss Opal is living Texas history because if you had not known, recently, Miss Opal now has a Barbie doll. Now, the reason this is important, at 99 years old, she's the oldest human being to ever have a Barbie doll. This is not because she's African American. This is not solely because of the work that she did with Juneteenth. But as a native Texan that worked to improve the lives of other human beings, we now have made history, and it shows what can happen when we work together. So we want to encourage you to also celebrate the living Texas history. And if you have not bought it, Miss Opal has grown men buying Barbie dolls. And this is not a gift, this is my personal copy. It's part of my collection. So I want to encourage you to share this with your family members and think back when you were 12 years old, how you would have felt about that incident. But she did not hold that against the individual. She worked to make things better. October 7th, she will turn 100 years old, and we should celebrate this native Texan, not because she's African American or because of Juneteenth, but because she's a Texan, and this is our Texas story.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I'm trying to envision you playing with your Barbies. All right. Let's see. Next, we have Stephen Lanow? Lanou, sorry. Stephen Lanou for Tropical Trails.
Tropical Trails.
Awesome.
Those Cajuns are tricky. They put an X in there just to mess with you. Good morning. My name is Steve Lanou, and I'm the chair of the Tropical Trail Board of Directors. Thank you for your support of the Heritage Trails program, especially your success in obtaining increased funding for the regions. A few of the things that this has done for us: we funded full-cost scholarships for 2 individuals to attend the upcoming Real Places Conference. The recipients were selected by our grants committee through a competitive process of written applications and in-person interviews. We hired contract employees to fill an upcoming 3-month absence of our executive director for maternity leave. We bought state-of-the-art equipment to enhance remote access to our monthly board meetings when members are unable to be present. Tropical emphasizes 9 partner events a year at different locations around the region, and we frequently select small-town venues, some with populations of less than 1,000. We are constantly delighted by the passion the residents have for preserving their communities, homes, and buildings, and they are always proud to share their stories. In Benavides, population 1,100, one family opened their hacienda to our group of 45 people, set up tables and chairs in the carriage house as a lounge for us, decorated the main house, the carriage house, and their guest quarters for Dios de los Muertos, then baked hundreds of cookies for us and decorated the cookies too. Here's one of them. We always experience a very real ground-level appreciation for the programs managed by the Texas Historical Commission. We staffed a tropical trail booth at both McAllen and Brownsville Winter Texan Expos, separate from the booth representing all heritage trails. These annual expos are in our region, and we believe it is important to share our local knowledge with visitors. We had over 1,200 contacts with attendees, and at least 200 of these involved significant interactions. The most common question we got, so where is this tropical trail? Is it a long hike? Yeah, with 20 counties in the region, it's a very long hike. But that question initiated conversations about our incredible historical points of interest. One couple asked where they could find a list of historical markers while wintering over. They were thrilled when we helped them download the Texas History Navigator for their adventure. Chairman Now and the entire commission, please know that Tropical will support your promotion of the trails in the next legislative session in any way that we can. Thank you for all that you do to help us out in the field and for all that you do for the state of Texas.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, is that no more forms? All the forms. Okay. We'll conclude the public comment part of the commission meeting, and we will now keep going. Okay. The commission will now meet concurrently with AAB, and I will let Commissioner Hines take over and run AAB.
Okay, thank you. We'll next have a discussion and possible action regarding the issuance of historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo,
Okay,
San
hold
Antonio.
on. I'm sorry. I turned it over too early.
Okay. Sorry.
I was trying to not listen to Patrick, but I guess we get to listen to Patrick. Yes, sir. I take it. I get to sit up here, so. So we will hear a presentation on the updated Alamo plan from the Alamo Trust. Ms. Andrade, are you going to do it?
I'm going to introduce myself.
Awesome. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to be with you today and to introduce myself, although I've lived long enough to where I sometimes feel I don't need to introduce myself. But my name is Hope Andrade, and I'm honored to serve as the new Chief Executive Officer of the Alamo Trust. While this is a new role for me, my connection to the Alamo Trust is not new. I've had the privilege of serving on the Alamo Trust Board since 2015, including as an officer of the board, and have seen firsthand the responsibility that comes with preserving one of the most significant historic sites in our nation. I'm a native Texan and a proud San Antonio. My professional life has been rooted in both entrepreneurship and public service. Over the course of my career, I have been entrusted with several statewide leadership roles that have shaped how I approach this responsibility. But now, during my brief time as CEO of the Alamo Trust, I've been assessing our team, both staff and all our partners and consultants, and I'm proud to report to you that we have the best of the best. We have the best staff that's committed. We have some of the top consultant and contractors. So I'm very confident and very comfortable with the route that we're taking and surrounded by these experts. You know, I've always said I've had a successful career and an amazing life, but I've never done anything by myself. It's always been the people that I've surrounded myself with. And I'm proud to tell you that, once again, I am surrounded by the right people. With me this morning, I have Pam Rosser, who's on our staff, our head conservator. Pam, thank you so much. One of the longest-serving staff members. And we have our chairman, Mr. Welcome Wilson, from Houston, who has just been an incredible leader and grateful for his service. And then, of course, we've got the support and the guidance of our land commissioner, Dawn Buckingham. Commissioner, thank you so much for, thank you so much for your leadership and for your support. So here we are at this point, And I will tell you that after the assessment, I can proudly tell you that we will complete the Alamo plan. We expect the construction to be done by the fall of 2027 and the museum opening in the spring of 2028. These are, this is a plan that has already been approved. I'm not here to change anything. I'm here to follow what's been already approved. And I will proudly report to you at any time. We welcome you at our site. We can talk about it, but it's not until you come and you see the cranes and the many people that are on our grounds working, and there's just this sense of pride that I can't explain to you of what's being done. But I thank you for everything that you've done to protect the historic sites in our state of Texas. I'm so proud to be part of this, and I thank you for your trust. I thank you for your guidance, and I look forward to coming and giving you positive reports. And if they're not positive, you'll hear about them before I come up here and report to you. That's one thing I will tell you. I've been smart enough to know how to work this, but we deeply value the role that you play in preservation, archaeology, and historical integrity, and your partnership and expertise are essential as we move forward. With us today, we also have a consultant with us, an expert that I'm so proud of. And for that reason, I will tell you that when I was asked to serve in this position, I accepted because I knew the people that were already working with us. And, I'm going to introduce Patrick Gallagher in a minute, but I do want to remind everyone that it is Patrick Gallagher's birthday. So, thank you.
How many years?
Thank you, Patrick, for being with us. But at this time, I'd like to introduce you to one of our new consultants, which is Architexas, Larry Erskine. They did the work on our cenotaph. And, our cenotaph has been, as you know, a little controversial, but it's where it's supposed to be now. And I would watch visitors pass by, and they would pass by it, okay? They'd kind of glance at it, and they'd pass by it. But now, after the work that Architexas did, I will tell you that people pass by it and stop. It's gleaming, it's shining. And now they're able to read about all the defenders there. And that's also another sense of pride that I welcome you to come visit the, it is just amazing. And we're looking forward to it being also lighted at night so that our visitors that come and visit at night will also be there. But at this time, I'd like to ask Larry Erskine if he would please come up and talk about Architexas. And thank you all so much for your time and all that you do to support us.
Great. Thank you so much, Hope. We really appreciate ATI's trust in us. We really enjoyed working on the Cenotaph project, incredible project. Yeah, sorry about that.
That's good.
To be involved in this project. A lot of you recognize me because I have been here the last year and a half, 2 years, presenting on the Cenotaph project. But you may not know Architexas that much. I mean, our firm started in 1978. I actually started, it makes me feel old saying this, but over 40 years ago, in 1985. And some of our most rewarding projects, honestly, have been the courthouses. We've done over 30-some master plans and 21 courthouse restorations across the entire state, and really appreciate what you all have done in funding and making those happen and what a difference they make in the communities across Texas. I was really fortunate to be involved in the restoration of the Harris County Courthouse here in Houston and the Mason County Courthouse, which, wow, with extra funding from you two, what happened, was very tragic, and now to see what it has done and come back to life with the community is really incredible. Some of the projects we've been involved in, Blanton Museum of Art at the University of Texas, and then last quarterly meeting, Battle Hall, architecture building at UT. I'm restoring the interior of that right now. And I was just remembering last night, Suzanne Dickinson House. 20 years ago, I restored that house in Austin. So it's funny, it kind of comes back and ties into what we're doing here today. So we're really happy to be on the team with ATI, working with GLO, working with you and the THC staff. We did already meet with THC staff and go through some briefings. And I just want to tell you kind of where we are right now on scheduling on our end in the project. And we're kind of we just got engaged a few weeks ago and are going through a big download of information, drawings, reports, and documents and getting up to speed on the project and what decisions still need to get made, and what's outstanding and what has already been established. And we're going to start engaging with consultant members. We really like continuity, consistency, and are looking at keeping most all of them on board that were previously working on the project. And we're going to be going through this project initiation phase till the end of next month. And then we're going to really spend the next 3 months doing, I guess, what we're calling 100% design development refinement, and addressing all these issues and coming back to you at the July meeting and giving all of you an update. And then, our plan after that is to come this fall for a permit for the project. And I'm sure we'll be seeing each other every quarterly meeting and giving you guys updates of our progress and what's happening, and look forward to meeting with you.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Now, Commissioners. I'm Patrick Gallagher. What a thrill. I get to celebrate my 70th with all my friends at THC.
You're lucky. Yeah.
So as we always do, I want to give you an update on where we are with the Alamo and all of our related projects. And there are a number of projects under construction and moving very, very quickly. We are about to complete all the work on the 18-pounder in the La Soya House exhibition, which sits at the top of the lower Paseo. We had a temporary there for a number of years, and now we will be installing the permanent, and it is well under construction. You'll be able to see the entire structure itself. This is the lead up to it, the pathway into what is the partial reconstruction of the La Soya House. That sits next to the south gate. So again, we're continuing that definition of what the fort perimeter was all about, to really get our visitors to understand the whole site and the character of the site. This is a very aerial view from the back of the upper Paseo, and then the structure in the far background is the recreation of the south gate. So we are almost complete with that work. The lower Paseo is well underway. The finish work is really coming along to the point where all the infrastructure is in. You can see the new elevator and the staircase coming up. The building off to the right is where the Ripley structure is, and if you look all the way up to the center, that is the La Soya House and our grand staircase moving up through the lower Paseo. So we're making great progress on this, and all the finished stonework is beginning to be installed now. Here's an aerial view looking down. Just recently opened the new Welcome Center. It is in the corner of the Menger, and it is one of what will ultimately be 3 welcome centers. So we're positioning those in locations where visitors come into the site. So we're beyond all the operations that will be happening at the visitor center and museum. This gives us a chance to get visitors to come in, plan their visit, buy their tickets for the museum and the film. We will have some retail in there as well, but it helps us in managing the millions of people that will be coming to the Alamo. So this is our first Welcome Center open today, and it's been open now for just before the holidays. The Museum and Visitor Center itself is deeply in mid-construction. This is an aerial shot. You can see that the steel is coming up inside the Woolworth building, and in the new central lobby, the steel structure is being erected there, as well as it's just beginning inside the Crockett Block building. So you're seeing all the infrastructure of the building finally infilling the 2 historic facades. The work is also taking place behind this building for the new delivery docks and the new service areas that will service the Museum and Visitor Center. It is an incredibly active site. Here's a view of the Hyatt garage. You can see the steel structure that's going up against the garage is where the delivery bay will be for the museum. So we have an underground delivery bay that will service both the museum, the event space, and the retail and restaurant spaces. The church archaeology continues. It's been a massive project and continues to grow. The archaeology that is happening today is uncovering new things that have not been uncovered in the past and explored. Not only are we expanding in the collections that are coming out from all the archaeological work, but it's again continuing to inform us more and more about the church and the history of the church. And as the Architects team takes on the next level of design development of this project, archaeology is there to guide us in our understanding of the evolution of the history of the church. The garden works that are underway right now are near the Ed Center. The new Ed Center will be opening in February, so we will have another opening coming up, and it is in its final phases, so the gardens are being completed at this time that will connect into the collection center and connect into the new Ed Center. We are moving one of the major garden features, which is a fountain and an acequia. That's also part of the new work around the Ed Center, and as you can see, that's well underway. This is the relocated Crockett Fountain, which was by the Paseo that connected you to the church. That's now been relocated, and you can see off in the lower left-hand corner, all the historic stone is being rebuilt around the fountain, and that will be a major feature in the gardens. As I mentioned, the Ed Center is in its final phases of construction and interior fit-out. There will be a dedication in February with a final opening a few weeks after that. The interior work is almost complete. This is the connection to the historic building that was there. You can see all the interior fit-out of the offices. This project has moved incredibly quickly. So needless to say, there is construction on almost every square inch of the Alamo site, including all the work for our off-site bus parking. That's beginning under the freeway, so we will have an off-site location to send all of our tour buses and school buses to manage not only the service around the site, but to manage the crowd flows and to manage the different types of guests that will be coming to the Alamo. So that's where we are today, and it's an exciting site, and as Hope had mentioned, the cenotaph is complete, and it stands as kind of a beacon in the middle of the site right now, but other than that, it stands in a family of tower cranes and piles of construction material. But we're thrilled to say that the project is moving and progressing at the scheduled rate that we all anticipated, and happy to answer any questions.
So I went a couple of weeks ago when y'all rededicated the cenotaph, and it looks amazing. I mean, it's really something to see if you're out there. It is kind of hard to see with all the cranes, but it does stand out. So it's really good work. Thank you, commissioners. Any questions, Mr. Gallagher? Okay.
Garrett, I might note that the cenotaph will ultimately become part of a presentation for a military memorial that will be working on that'll include the Long Barracks and the cenotaph as a sound and light event that will be a nighttime event at the Alamo, and it'll be free to the public.
Awesome. Okay. Well, no questions. We'll move on and let Mr. Gallagher tell us all about San Jacinto.
They're going to get as much out of me today as you can get out of me.
That's right.
So I want to give you the first update on the San Jacinto Monument project. San Jacinto Battlegrounds and Monument, as you all know, stands as one of the most important sites in the state of Texas and has really always been one of those monuments that people look to as the pride of Texas. And the location here has been critical to the historical narrative that belongs around the monument itself. So the work that's been underway has been conceptual planning for a new visitor center, a renewed landscape, so a totally interpreted landscape. So everything that you see out there now will be completely transformed into an interpreted landscape and a total restoration of the interiors of the monument itself. This is a plan view to give you an idea of where the monument stands and where the proposed visitor center will be. Off to the right, that fan-shaped structure is a new lobby for a visitor center. The visitor center itself will be totally an underground structure. We felt it was important conceptually to respect the history of the monument itself and to keep the building as low profile as possible. Our architecture partner on this is Lake Flato, and the landscape architects are TBG. So we have a team that's paid incredible attention to, and not only to the story that needs to be told, but to the respect of the monument itself. The trail that you see coming across that grassy roof, that entire roof structure will be a planted grass roof. And then there is a trail that will be a new trail out to the interpretive pathways to the Texian camps. And I'll show you all the landscape plans for all the site interpretation as well. The inside of the new visitor center, approximately 12,000 square feet, will follow a 5-chapter narrative, and I'll explain to you what those chapters really entail, with a very large central theater that will encompass the story of the battle itself. We have a new collection storage area, a more grand lobby for engaging the public. There'll be a classroom that is engaged both indoors and outdoors, and then a new connection and an elevator connection that will take visitors up and into the monument itself. Here's one of the first conceptual views of the new visitor center. As I mentioned, it is almost totally below grade other than that arc that you're seeing, and that is in a totally glass facade that looks out onto the landscape to help engage the architecture with the landscape. I'm sorry, I'll jump back. This is a section through. Off to the left is the monument itself, and then off to the right is the new visitor center. So you can see that it really balances well in the landscape and keeps its profile to the point where visitors will always have a clear view to the monument itself. And this building really does give us what we need as a modern visitor center and museum, but also does pay incredible homage to the history of the monument itself. Some of the preliminary sketches, that upper right-hand sketch is the new connection from what will be a small pavilion where the elevators come up, and then you'll go into the monument through that connection point. So that glassy connection is how we will connect to the historic monument itself. And then inside on the lower right is the beginning of a look at an oculus that when you're coming from the monument into the new museum, there'll be an oculus that looks down into the visitor center and museum itself. And the lower right is a concept sketch for the grass roof that will be a public functioning space for public programs and events. Here's a preliminary view of the lobby. Obviously, we're just in conceptual planning. This has gone in front of both the THC team, who's been working carefully with the architecture team and the interpretive team, as well as the monument board, so that as partners, they feel completely informed and part of the design process. But the architecture team has really put a focus on connecting the landscape to the new interpretive center, so that translucent lobby was part of being able to maintain that real connection to where the events took place. The museum galleries are laid out in a chronological fashion. The real emphasis here is in the 18 minutes of the battle, which will be a major theater experience. The Road to Revolution is the introduction to that, and then the eve of the battle theater, the aftermath, and legacy. So it is a linear layout. We also have been working with the THC team on being sure that the messaging has resonance for the visitors. They have a sense of understanding of what happened here, what the significance of it is. It's often a little bit challenging to drive up on such a large landscape and understand what really took place here. So the opportunity for us to really get the visitors engaged in the site with the monument itself has been an important part of our work. This is the view of the floor plan for the new museum. The yellow is the new lobby space, and the blue is all the new exhibition space. It's a singular pathway, so you can see that blue arrow moves you through. The upper left space is the major theater, and then the prologue and the concluding space, Area 5. And then the other yellow space off to the left is the transition elevators up to the connection to the monument itself. Again, here's your section through both the long section and the narrow section through the new building. And this is in conceptual planning, so obviously we have a long way to go in design development, and we'll be bringing that forward at every stage of the work as we're moving further into design and working with the THC staff all the way through the process to be sure they're an informed part of the new architecture. So in thinking about the monument itself, the ground floor and the next 3 floors up will be part of a restoration project. If you haven't been in the monument, the ground floor is a very powerful space. It's a double height space with very articulated architecture. Fortunately, most of it has been saved. We'll be restoring all of that. There'll be a new elevator put in the monument so that visitors have a much easier path up to the observation level. That observation level, again, is part of our helping them understand where the Texian camp was, where the Mexican camp was, and really getting a better understanding of the major landmarks on the site. This will be restored to be both an event space and a temporary exhibition space. There'll be new retail in here and a completely restored lobby. A section through the monument, if you haven't been there, the first 4 levels included what was at one time a library, and those spaces will be restored. So we'll have a small conferencing facility in there that will be available for use by not only the THC for their programming, but also any of the businesses in the area that would like to rent this space and use it for a corporate event. We're creating an opportunity to really open up the monument as part of being a good neighbor in that part of Houston. Our administration offices will go in there, and then the offices for Historical Society as well. And the top, excuse me, is the observation area. And, excuse me, if you haven't been there, it's a powerful visit to see from the top of the monument. Yeah, and the woman that runs the elevator is a treat too. So we're working on content as well for the site. The content for the site has really informed the decision to remove the reflecting pool and to restore the historic landscape. This has really been as much of the content focus as what's been going on in the new visitor center and museum. Because of the acquisition of the surrender site, we now have a fully engaged landscape for where all the major events took place during the battle. We are working diligently to restore the Texian camp. We have a $40 million hole to fill where the battleship Texas was, and we're working with the Army Corps of Engineers to get that filled. It hasn't been as easy as we thought it would be, but we're getting closer. All of these, and this is going to be hard for you to see, are interpretive pathways in and around the site. So moving from the Texian camp, you'll move toward the monument. You can do this either on new vehicular pathways that are going to be carved into the site or pedestrian pathways with interpretation. These are all interpretive locations within the Mexican camp. So the historical team has been doing an enormous amount of work in trying to be sure that we have accurately depicted where all the events of the battle have taken place. We're looking at different forms of site interpretation. So as visitors move through the landscape, there will be interpretation for them. There'll be forms of monuments and interpretive elements, even some camp-related interpretation, some more in-ground interpretation in the lower right, and then there'll also be a media program that you'll be able to have on your phone to take you through the site. So while it's at times going to be a challenging site because of the heat, they can move from one location to another in their car and get out and engage in a particular area on site and then get back in their car and move to another location. So it doesn't have to be done totally on foot, but it'll be a great way for students to really get a broader understanding of the events of the battle, and a great deal of attention being paid to trying to restore the natural landscape for the materials that were there during the battle. So what you see now is a very well-maintained lawn will now become a Texas prairie once we get all the landscape restored and all the interpretation and all the plantings back in place. So this is a view at the Texian camp. So the long views back to the memorial as a compass point and then back to the Mexican camp is also being considered for where we engage our visitors in how we interpret the site and the events of the site. So, as I mentioned, we're in concept design. We have a long way to go, but we felt it was important that you see the beginnings of what I think is going to be an incredibly exciting site and a very respectful building in relationship to the monument. And happy to answer any questions.
Got a couple. Plan to present this to the local 501c3?
Yes, they've been involved all the way through.
We have. We saw it Wednesday, and I'll just say, on behalf of the association, we're really excited about your work and that of all our partners, and we're going to try to match your energy and effort, but thank you.
Thanks, Jamie.
Ready to, dinner partner last night was asking me about this. Can I set up a meeting with the appropriate members of the House and Senate that have pushed this?
Yes, I would say once we get to a more finished rendering level.
When do you think that'll be, Ben?
We can get that done in a few weeks. So we wanted to get it in front of the commissioners first to be sure we had full support, but we're ready whenever you want to set that up.
Thank you.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Morning. Is the line of the Texian Advance the actual line of the Texian Advance?
From everything that we know, yes. And we have a number of historic models that we're working from.
Good.
And we have, as we always do, a great committee of historians supporting us in documenting where all the events were, both in the camps and where the battle took place.
How about the famous berm that disappeared?
In order to get the berm back, the reflecting pond has got to go.
Yeah.
And that's one piece of this that I need to say. We're going to take the reflecting pond out in order to properly restore the berm and be able to completely interpret what happened that day in the famous 18 minutes. Leadership has been informed. Part of the problem with the reflecting pond, it tears the battle site up. It's also become home to a couple of alligators. And last time I was out there was a family of 5 having a picnic right next to the reflecting pond, and within about 20 feet of them was an alligator. We just can't run that risk. So whoever put the gator in did us a favor.
The current planning process for the reflection pond is to drain it and fill it and keep the original basin, so that that evidence is there, and we will have definition so that if anyone wants to know where it was, and we will have definition in the landscape of the corner points of the reflecting pond.
We discussed.
I have a little more, Patrick, sorry. This may also apply to the Alamo, but what is the process for the approval of content and interpretation? How does that work?
Well, the content is developed with the THC team, and they're responsible for review and approval of all the content work. So that's directly, Joseph, do you want to respond to that at all?
Right, that's where we have Steve Cure, who is the chief historian, and that is all in compliance with the new legislative requirements that Steve will be vetting all the interpretation that is presented by Gallagher and then presenting it to the commission, because under statute, you're to approve it.
And in regards to the Alamo, it's a very open process. The current museum script is under review and has been under review. It's being reviewed by the GLO, it's being reviewed by the ATI, and that process will result in the next round of draft script. That draft script will ultimately be available for anyone to read. So we've been very open in the process of how that, both the script for the exhibition and for the films, are being reviewed by all our partners. Oh, I didn't notice that at all.
I didn't know if you knew that.
Oh.
I thought I'd bring it to your attention.
It's coming in my chapter in my book, so.
One final question. My wife and I actually went to San Jacinto on Wednesday, I guess. And as I mentioned yesterday, we went to the top of the mountain, our butts off there. It's just unbelievably cold. I liked the film that is there. I think, for the time, it's a good film. I'm sure there's more razzle-dazzle that can be done this technologically. But I would ask you or the commission to preserve that particular film, because it's not often you can have a film narrated by the voice of Moses.
Yeah. We will be using that film as the infrastructure for the new film, so it won't be completely discarded. It will just be brought up to a more contemporary perspective.
And the original will be maintained. We're going to keep it available online.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, I had a question. Patrick, thank you so much for taking time on your birthday to show us all this. We really appreciate it. I'm the architect, so I'm going to talk a little bit about the building. I think it's a lovely, lovely project. I was really worried about the notion of a freestanding visitor center adjacent to the monument, so I applaud the idea of tucking it under the edge of the landscape there. And the only thing I'll ask you all to try to continue to pay attention to is to really minimize the visual impact and physical impact, if possible, of that glass pavilion where the elevator goes
in the
up.
connection point?
Yeah. It's probably not possible, but you can't possibly do that within the footprint of the monument.
It's a good question, Lori. Originally, we were going to break through the monument, but we come into it at such an inappropriate location in an unfinished basement, and it would require yet another set of elevators inside the monument.
Right.
And we felt it was better to not do that damage
outside.
to the monument.
Yeah, just keep it, visually as minimal as you can. And obviously, you're trying to do that, making it glass and small in scale. But
I'll be sure that the architects pay attention to that and bring very focused details at our next presentation.
right, and I think that my colleagues at Lordock and Sargent are working on the conservation of the monument itself.
They are.
So yeah, I think they'll be bringing some good work too.
Yeah, they're doing. It was a lot more technical, not as visual, so I didn't have any of their work in here, but they're great partners on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Gallagher, and happy birthday.
So our next presentation is on the Port Isabel Visitor Center, and Valerie Bates and Jared Hockman.
Well, that seems obvious, doesn't it? Seems obvious. Good morning, Chair and Commissioners and AAB Board. You're going to get to see Jared and I practice our presentation this morning, but we appreciate your time and space on this agenda. My name is Valerie Bates. I'm the Marketing Director for the City of Port Isabel, and with me, Jared Hockema is City Manager for the City of Port Isabel. So, this is real places telling real stories about real people. It's the spring of 1554. You've booked passage to Spain from Mexico. You've packed scant few personal belongings, but the ship is loaded with valuables, silk, thread, sarsaparilla, a great many items made of feathers, letters to royalty, gold, and lots of silver. Caught in a storm and shipwrecked, those of us that made it to the beach were traumatized, disoriented, and vulnerable. We thought we were a 2 or 3 day walk from safety, shelter, and provisions. Instead, we were preyed upon, exposed, hungry, thirsty, and very frightened. I took 6 arrows, 1 through the eye. Somehow I survived and reached Mexico City alone. 4 years later, I would pen this. So God allowed the ones that escaped from the water, ended in the Indians' hands, that they took their lives, and their wealth stayed lost in the sea, when with abundance they had taken from the land. I am Fray Marcos de Mena. This is my story. The site was salvaged in the early summer of 1554, but much did stay lost to the sea for 400 years. But this is more than the story of the 1554 shipwrecks. It is of hardships, resilience, discovery, preservation, and stewardship. And this is a Port Isabel story.
Thank you, Valerie, and I appreciate the chance to be here with you. As Valerie said, I'm Jared Hockema. It's an introduction to some of you that are new on the commission. Some of y'all we've known for quite a while, and also your great staff. And a few years ago, the City of Port Isabel and our lighthouse became part of Texas Historical Commission. And some will remember we were a little apprehensive, but it's been a great partnership. With the help of THC, the lighthouse has become, the visitation has increased tremendously. We've had great milestones like the relighting the lighthouse in more than 100 years with a lens. Of course, now we have the new visitor center and classroom that's out for bids right now with your help. And so it's been a great partnership. But there's so many more stories that could be told. And one of the things that we've been thinking about for a long time is one of the most important sites in Texas history, and even the history of this organization, is right off our coast, which is the site of the 1554 shipwreck. And of course, that's a story that talks about colonialism, the Mexican Revolution, the Texas Revolution, the Mexican-American War, all those things, and even down to the founding of the Texas Antiquities Commission when that site was discovered. And so it's such an important story, but there's no way for people to experience it. There's no way for people to understand what it was like to be there. You can't go to the site. It's a secret where it's at, but it's underwater. But there's so many visitors that come through our area. We have such a huge visitation at the lighthouse. We have so much traffic that goes on Highway 100, and so we thought, how can we tie this all together? How can we capture the visitors that we have that are coming to the lighthouse, that are coming to Port Isabel and South Padre Island, and tell them the story of the 1554 shipwreck, to tell them the story of all this history that's happened and how important this event was to Texas and even to the commission itself. And so, you have the device here? Thank you, Vaughn. So we decided to commission an architect to do some very preliminary renderings of what a visitor center might look like, and do some very preliminary calculations of what it might cost and what would be involved in building a center like this. And so this is a very rough introduction to what a visitor center for this may look like. And by the way, just to orient you, if you've ever been to Port Isabel, you'll know where the lighthouse is in Lighthouse Square, and then there's Maxan Street that runs down basically from the water, and it terminates at this site where this building would be. So it's on the same axis as the lighthouse. It's also aligned as you drive into Port Isabel. If you've ever noticed that curve right before you get to the lighthouse, this is on that curve. So anybody that was traveling to South Padre Island through Port Isabel would see this facility. And so it has great visibility and captures all of that traffic. So we thought that was very important to be able to get those visitors involved. And of course, as you can kind of glean from this picture, obviously this is inspired by a ship, right? Press down? Okay. So again, this is sort of a rough concept of what it might look like on the first floor. And again, we're looking at a building between 18,000 and 24,000 square feet. Obviously, that's, you know, subject to change, but that's the rough concept that we're looking at. And of course, you can see there's an exhibit hall, obviously the entrance, the gift shop, and so forth. The next floor, we have obviously the flexible space. There's a gallery that's open below and the exhibits. One of the things that we've been very careful in the initial planning is to make sure that we had ample provision for the location. This is not an area that's ever experienced any flooding in the history of the city of Port Isabel, and the city of Port Isabel has been there for almost 200 years by this point. But we did make sure to have a building that would be designed for any hurricanes and to have the proper provisions to move any items that would be there and keep them to safety if there were to be a storm that would threaten the area. Again, this is a concept of what the site would look like. Obviously, the proposed building is on the eastern part. The parking and the plaza are towards the west. And you can see that curve that I was talking about as you go down Highway 100. And then, of course, how Maxen Street, which is right there, it goes between those two buildings. A little hard to see, but it's on the same axis as the lighthouse. The city of Port Isabel already has site control of the eastern part of this property. And we are in conversations with the owner, it's a single owner, of the western part of the site to obtain site control as well for that. And by the way, it's approximately a 15-acre collection of land. I wouldn't say a parcel because there's multiple parcels, but there's approximately 15 acres involved in this site. Again, this is just sort of a rough idea of what it might look like. Obviously, the concept of the ship, the exposed beams. Other inspirations, there's the consideration possibly of an entrance that would have this in place. And then, of course, this is just an image that we're really proud of, which is something that you helped us do, you did, which is this great relighting of the lighthouse and the beautiful lens that THC furnished us, which has been such a beacon for our whole area and so popular with the visitors. And so with that, like I said, this is just an introduction. This is a very, very preliminary project, but one we've been having a lot of discussions about for a long time, and we thought it was important to come to you before we proceeded any further and sort of gauge what the commission felt about this to see if there was support for this project. But we think that there's the makings of another great partnership with THC on this facility. We've had, like I said, such a great partnership with the Lighthouse. It's been so successful. It's driven great visitation, great programs. It's a beautiful facility. We're just so pleased with the help that you've given us. The public is really pleased with that. I think it's really been a marquee for the state of Texas and for this commission. And so we really see the opportunity to expand that partnership and to find a way to reach more visitors, tell more stories, and really have a great impact on the state of Texas and on our telling our stories of history. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about this or comments.
I don't have any questions, but I did want to comment something. Maybe if you haven't been down in South Texas, haven't been down in South Padre Island, Port Isabel, or the Rio Grande Valley, there is so much happening down there. And part of it is SpaceX, people coming to see what's going on. Part of it is the spring breaking legends of the area. It's just a wide appeal, but what all of this is doing, and with that lighthouse, so many people really are stopping there. And when we talk about historic and heritage tourism, it's really, really, really happening there. It's also an international market, which a lot of people don't realize. With Monterey and Mexico and Mexican nationals coming in, the amount of international visitors that Port Isabel and the Lighthouse got is really remarkable. So to see all this happening, more and more people going down to South Texas, and there's so much history down there. not only from 1554 Rec, but there is just so much from ranching and borderlands and just so much going on. It really is like the lighthouse putting a light in South Texas, and it's bringing people. And that's what we want. And I've said it, and I'll keep on saying it. San Antonio isn't the end of Texas.
No offense.
No offense. I love the Alamo. But South Texas, you got the heart, really, of Texas. And so it's amazing to see what this is going. And I look forward to seeing what else is going to be done in the Port Isabel area. Because it benefits Brownsville, it benefits Raymondville, it benefits McAllen, it benefits all the Rio Grande Valley.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. That's a great point because, Cameron County already, we have 3 historic sites, state historic sites in our county, which I think is the highest number. And of course, really, there's a 4th, which doesn't have any way to access, and one of the most important, which is the 1554 shipwreck. And of course, you also have the Palmetto Hill battle site, which is nearby here. It's hard to get to because of the location it's at. It's near SpaceX. Sometimes there's closures and activity that goes on, but there's so many more people that go by this facility that could become aware of that battle site and perhaps visit that, or even Iwo Jima that's just recently now under construction in the western part of our county that could be pointed out to visitors so they'd be aware of that site and be able to visit it because of the traffic that we get through this area. So that's a great point. I appreciate that.
This story also connects us to Mexico and Spain. So the partnerships and the storytelling through through that historical connection could be very important.
If I could, let me comment about what you just said about Palmetto Hill and SpaceX. Steve Cure, Joseph, a couple of others, yours truly, went down there to try to sort through what Federal Fish and Game, Park Service, our agency, and SpaceX could work out. It is the ground where the last shots and the last casualties of the American Civil War took place. So it is unique in the history. It's also turned into a unique in the future of the United States because of SpaceX. We're going back down there in a couple of weeks. It's the land of the battle. Federal Fish and Game has a real footprint down there, and of course, SpaceX is trying to manage SpaceX into a partnership, which might not be the easiest thing we do this year. But I think there's a commitment to have a state and federal footprint down there, both Fish and Game and parks, both state and federal, to create a site based on the history of what took place there, which could then tie back into what you all are talking about. To be determined, but that's 2 weeks?
Yes,
Yeah.
16th.
16th, we'll be back down there. And if you ever get a chance to get anywhere close to SpaceX, that's a different world. It really is. But thank you for bringing that up because it was on my list.
I appreciate that, Chairman. And yeah, we actually are meeting with SpaceX ourselves on Monday. And so obviously it's a partnership we want to develop as well. And I think that's a great segue because, before we reach out to any external partners, we wanted to make sure that we were in the right place with the commission and with you because, that's the most key partnership for us. And so obviously, the city is willing to put in a substantial amount towards this project, but of course, we don't have the capacity to do this entire project. And so we would need the assistance of the commission, the state of Texas, and of course, external partners, which is why we're meeting with SpaceX and why we're going to be meeting with other people that can obviously donate money. But again, we know that there is a limit to philanthropy, and sometimes the public sector has to step in. And so before we begin engaging with those partners, we wanted to make sure that the commission was okay with what we were doing, that the concept was good. Obviously, we can make any adjustments that need to be made to this concept, additions, deletions. But first, we wanted to bring this to you out of the respect for the partnership we have, and obviously with the great hope that it will continue to be another great partnership.
I would say personally that we're going to follow what you're recommending simply because of the lady to your right.
She's pretty good.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, Chairman. Thank you.
So I think we'll turn it over to Ms. Hines to run the joint AAB meeting now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we are at number 5, and so that is the discussion and possible action regarding issuance of historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo. Elizabeth?
Good morning, Commissioners and AAB members. We have a relatively small permit request from the Alamo. It's a request to remove 2 sections of the north perimeter wall of the compound. These walls were constructed in the 1960s as part of the Daughters of the Republic of Texas beautification efforts at the site. And this is a scope of work that has been performed multiple times over the course of the build-out of the facilities at the Alamo. For the Ralston Collection Center and the Texas Cavalier Education Center, there's been a necessity to break through that perimeter wall in order to provide access for construction equipment to really be able to mobilize and to bring those buildings to fruition. And so what we're looking at here is breaking through that north wall in a very careful and controlled manner where the wall will be well documented, the stones will be stored off-site, and the wall will ultimately be rebuilt with the same stones once the construction work is complete. This is necessary in order for the ultimate restoration that will be coming to you later for the long barrack you see here, and then off the screen below is the Alamo Church. So in order to provide the appropriate access for construction equipment, supplies and materials, it's necessary to make those openings within the wall. Mentioned in the backup material is that there will be permanent removal of 3 bridges over the interpretive acequia. The Commission has already approved that work as part of a prior permit that was issued 2 years ago for landscaping work in that part of the complex. So the acequia will ultimately no longer be there. It will be interpreted through a paving pattern instead. So it was anticipated and shown on the demolition plans that that work would occur. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Does anyone have any questions of Elizabeth before we go to a vote with the AAB?
I've got one. Is Dick Tips. And thank you to Pam Rosser, who walked me through that site of these 2 wall openings, and I was trying to figure out if there wasn't another way to potentially come in to the existing opening that's on the south side. I don't know that I ever got a complete answer on that, but I can see where as you come through on the one that's to the more to the west, or to the east, I'm sorry, that one going down the acequia. That one, I certainly don't have any issue with at all. The one to the other one, though, is one that I just am curious about if it's absolutely necessary to bring things through that one just for the long barracks. Is that what that's for?
Yes, it's for the Long Barrack project, since both of those buildings will receive comprehensive preservation and rehabilitation work.
Yeah, and Pam was nice enough to share with me. Sure, please.
Good morning, Chairman Now and Commissioners. Regarding the 35-foot disassemble and reassemble wall that's shown nearest the long barrack, in talking with Clark Guido, who's the general contractor, they have informed me that's sort of an alternate. So they may not even need to remove or disassemble and reassemble that particular section of the wall. They might be able to bring all the construction equipment and materials through that one that's further to the east. So it may not even get removed. And then Commissioner Tips when we were walking the site, and you brought up a very good question about using the service gate right now that's nearest the Texas Cavalier Education Center. The reason that we cannot use that, continue to use that gate, is because that project is coming to close in the next month, and we are going to be using that gate as actually our entrance to our 100th and 90th Alamo event that will lead all the guests into the newly completed Ed Center, as well as in the future when we have the 200,000 students that will be bused, that will be their offloading location. We have also already installed all the infrastructure, and so if we were to decide to use that gate, we would have to remove the infrastructure and then redesign our gala event as well as where we're going to offload the children. So this is why this plan is working, but I just want you all to know that the disassemble and reassemble of that perimeter wall that's further west is actually an alternate, and I apologize that it's not written on that drawing that was included in the application. Are there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Pam, does the acequia have any historic value to the interpretation of the site?
Not where it's currently located, no, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'll just note, if it gives anyone any comfort, the mason indicated to do this work is a very, 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 very fine restoration mason, so you're in good hands.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I just
Okay.
want to thank Pam for walking me through the site, and she's offered to actually show us a little bit more about how, because it is definitely a beehive of activity down there. And thank you, Pam, for your time and your energy and your effort and everything you're doing for us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And anytime you all have an open invitation to come for a very special hard hat tour. Some of y'all have already done it, and you're invited back to see all the progress that's been made. But I invite all y'all. It's just an open invitation, so please come.
Madam Chair,
Okay, there are, for the AAB vote, there are two suggested motions. Do we have a motion?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to move to send forward to the commission and recommend authorizing the executive director or his designee to issue historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo, San Antonio, Bexar County.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, it is moved and seconded that the board send forward to the commission and recommend authorizing the executive director or his designee to issue historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo, San Antonio, Texas. Is there any further debate or discussion on the approval?
One last question, if you don't
Hang
mind.
on, Dick. This is AAB right now, so hold yours till we go to the commission.
Yep.
I just have sort of one question. I assume that the Alamo Trust is probably coordinating with and talking to the Archaeology Division about a corresponding archaeology permit for this, because we know that's a sensitive area. So I assume that's already in the works, so.
Okay, so I'll just add that the disassemble and reassemble is just of the wall.
Surface.
There won't be any digging around it.
Okay, so they won't be going below ground at all, Pam? Okay, well, just maybe reach out to them and coordinate that, so.
Yeah, part of it is actually a good point. The alternate location, that right there, that has already been excavated on the interior part of the property. Not going to, where it says wall removal, that's actually a sidewalk.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for that, Pam. Appreciate that. Okay. If there's no further debate or discussion, we're going to take a vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, and the motion passes. We will now go to the vote for the THC Commission. And as y'all just heard, you heard the AAB motion. I won't repeat it again in order to save some time. There are 2 suggested motions from the commission. Do we have a vote? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to move to authorize the executive director or his designee to issue historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo, San Antonio, Bexar County.
Second?
It is moved and seconded that the commission, the executive director is designee to issue the historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo. Is there any further debate or discussion?
But Dick, please now. Sorry.
Okay. The only thing I was going to add to it is what Pam has already offered to us is that the first site, which makes immense sense, quite frankly, is the one to go through, and the second one being the alternative. Should that be in writing somewhere or adjusted to what the request was? Because right now, it's both walls are coming out.
The best way, Dick, is if you'd like that, go ahead and offer it as an amendment to the motion, and we can include it.
Well, then I'd like to offer, with Pam's help, an amendment to the motion that just explains that the first wall is no questions asked, coming out next to the acequia, and then the one down further towards the Long Barracks to be an alternative if necessary.
Is there any opposition to the amendment, or does everyone approve the amendment?
I think Lori would have to say to accept the amendment. It's her motion.
I'm happy to accept the friendly amendment. I will say that I think the point of the permit with both of them in there is to give them the flexibility that they need to do the work that needs to be done without creating a schedule impact. So I just want to make sure that the flexibility remains. And it sounds like it does. We are indicating that we have a preference for the east and that we will allow the west if it is needed in addition to the east, as I understand the friendly amendment. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
We will make.
Lori, will you restate the motion with the amendment?
Do I have to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me see if I can sort it out. I would like to move to authorize the executive director or his designee to issue historic buildings and structures antiquities permit number 1372 for the north perimeter wall at the Alamo, San Antonio, Bexar County, with the clarification as discussed during the meeting that the east opening location is the preferred location and the west opening location would be used as needed.
Perfect.
Thank you.
there-
Seconder, yeah.
I'm sorry.
David, do you like that motion?
Yes,
Whoever seconded
he's
it.
good with it.
Yeah, it's with, yeah, okay.
Absolutely perfect.
Okay, so is there any further debate or discussion? If none, then those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, say no. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Thank y'all. We now are up to the, Brad, or Elizabeth, are you, consider approval of the release and termination of antiquities conservation grant and easement and conveyance.
Thank you, Commissioner Hines. So this is something new for us. In previous presentations, we have informed the Commission that the Archaeology Division, on behalf of the THC, over the years has received over 100 different conservation easements to protect archaeological resources. This is one of those, which is in Travis County. This one came to us from the General Land Office in 1987 as part of the sale to a private landowner of what was the former location of the Austin State Farm Colony. During the initial transfer, GLO archaeologist Bob Skiles identified this site, which is basically pretty much the entire frame here. His archaeological site, 41 TB 1791, is having a potential state antiquities landmark eligibility based on his observation of both prehistoric and historic artifacts on the site. A little over a year and a half ago, was it Vision Hill Incorporated, which is the group that actually bought the property and owns all the surrounding area, approached the Archaeology Division about why or how the Antiquities Conservation Grant easement could be removed through mitigation. The site itself is one that we, as an agency, we didn't have sufficient information to answer the key question here was whether or not this is a state antiquities landmark or National Register of Historic Places eligible property. As a result, myself and Tiffany Osborne went out, visited the site, and we began a series of investigations in order to make that determination, in order to better guide the surrounding landowner and the agency in making a decision about this possible removal. You can see here in the initial slide, all of these green dots represent a series of archaeological shovel tests combined with metal detecting that we conducted with our stewards and our staff. And what we found initially, wrong button, was that the vast majority of the site, and you can really appreciate it here, has been heavily disturbed over the years. And really, the only portion of the site that appeared to have any true archaeological integrity was this small area here, where we had deposits that were about 80 centimeters deep and appeared to have some potential stratification. There were originally historic buildings here. They were both burned and bulldozed. These little dots down here represent fragments of structure that had just been pushed off the edge. This is actually a pretty steep cliff right here. It's hard to appreciate in this particular aerial photograph. So, most of the integrity of the structures were very disturbed, but we went ahead and we proceeded with additional investigations, working with a UT Austin anthropology archaeological fields method class led by Liz Ibarola there. We conducted some additional shovel testing along this back line, again, finding a lot of disturbance. Yeah. And then we put in a series of 5 1x1 test meter units in order to do a better assessment of areas where archaeological deposits were found to be a higher density and there appeared to be intact stratification. Long story short, the site's completely disturbed. Even in the best units, you can see this one here. This was our deepest unit. We thought we might have a prehistoric feature there. It was underlain by glass bottles. The site appears to have been heavily bulldozed and manipulated over time as they cleared off stuff. You can see fragments of the house. There's a sink right there. We did find one intact feature. You can see the anthropology class excavating here and us excavating here. And it was a early to mid 19th century trash pit, which had been dug in pretty deeply into sterile subsoil. It was a really fun class exercise. It had part of a train, a toy train in it, along with a 4,000-year-old projectile point. So,
You call that fun?
I'm your state archaeologist. I mean, I like to dig in the dirt. This is fun for me, and I appreciate the ability to go do it. So at the end of the day, while it was a great exercise for the class, and it was a good exercise for us as an agency to go out and start figuring out how to work through these sites, all of which across the state, we have an obligation for these conservation easements to monitor them and assess them. And many of them are held by private landowners, and we don't want to unnecessarily encumber landowners with conservation easements, which are not conserving eligible sites and materials. We did come to the conclusion that we felt like it was not eligible, and we did feel that it was appropriate to go ahead and remove this easement and convey the property back to the surrounding landowner, Vision Hill Incorporated. We worked with their lawyer, Monty James, as well as our legal representative, Kristen Warment, to develop a termination document, which has been approved. But, of course, we needed to come to the AAB and the commission to get your approval to move forward with that. So I'm here providing a staff recommendation that we do move forward with the removal of the archaeological grant and conservation easement and convey the property to Vision Hill. So just another view of the site. And I just wanted to point out that this was part of the original conservation grant and easement, which essentially states that the THC may remove it if we determine that eligibility is not met by the site itself. So I apologize to everyone that we have not completed the report. We're working on it with the UT class, and so I wanted to give you just an overview of this. And with that, we have our first recommended motion for the AAB. Are there any questions before we get going?
We have a recommended motion that the committee send forward to the commission and recommend the release and termination of the Antiquities Conservation Grant and easement for Site 41 TV 1791 and conveyance of the 1.75 acre tract to Village Vision Incorporated. Does somebody wish to move the motion?
I so move. I second.
It is moved and seconded that the committee send forward to the commission and recommend the release and termination of the Antiquities Conservation Grant and easement for Site 41 TV 1791 and conveyance of the 1.75 acre tract to Village Vision Incorporated. Is there any further debate or discussion on the approval?
I'd like to ask a question. Sorry.
This is AAB again.
Oh, I'm
And so-
sorry.
hold on one second.
Call me when you can.
If none, those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. The ayes have it and the motion passes. Now we'll go to the THC Commission vote. So y'all just heard the AAB motion. I won't repeat it for sake of time. The suggested motion for the commission is to move to approve the release and termination of the Antiquities Conservation Grant easement for Site 41 TV 1791 and conveyance of the 1.75 acres tract to Village Vision Incorporated. Does somebody wish to move the motion?
So moved.
Second.
It is moved and seconded that the commission approve the release and termination of the Antiquities Conservation Grant for Site 41 TV 1791 and conveyance of the 1.75 acres tract to Village Vision Incorporated. Is there any further debate or discussion?
I have a question. And I guess it's for Kristen. When the Texas Historical Commission gives a piece of property back or releases the property, does it say in the release that it's as is, where is, there's no way that anybody could ever come back to the Texas Historical Commission just because we did some shovel testing and all the rest of it, and they find something, and then all of a sudden they assume that we should have found those sort of things? I'm just asking for clarification about a complete and full and final release forever and ever. Amen.
So typically that type of language would not be included in the release of easement. It is releasing what we were granted, and so that is what the easement language specifies.
But I would think the individuals that would want it back would be willing to give you a stronger release just to make sure that the state of Texas and the Historical Commission are protected from any future issue, possibly future issue, as they go to develop.
So it's not a release of liability, it's simply a release of the property that was being granted to
Right.
us as
No,
an easement. There's no liability involved.
I agree. I was just trying to get a release of liability from them as well for that particular site. If they want it, they get it. But I don't know how it works. I'm just asking for clarification, legal clarification for the protection of the Texas Historical Commission. That's all.
Thanks for bringing that up. Could you send us, the two of us, a copy of one of those releases?
Certainly.
I think that's the right question to ask. We just need to take a look at it. Would you please?
Mr. Chair, I had a question. If we release this, and let's just say that something is revealed, what is the mechanism for working to protect what we might not have discovered?
It's actually in the termination language. It essentially says that anything additional that is found, like with any private property owner in the state of Texas, the cultural material becomes the property of the owner. The only thing that could possibly trigger any sort of other action, and this we have no reason to suspect this would be the case, would it be if a burial were located, which then would trigger the health and safety code, and there would have to be a process for that. given just the massive amount of disturbance we observed on just all across this site.
It seems unlikely.
It seems unlikely. Sure, there are going to be artifacts that pop up, but again, I don't think there's going to be anything there that would warrant us having reservations about what we had done, or I can't imagine that scenario, but it is pretty clear in the language that the landowner is the landowner, and that's pretty straight under Texas state law.
Having done digs in battlefields other than Texas, that's a fact in every state. It's the landowner's property. If you can cut a deal with the landowner, then you do that before the dig, but it's theirs.
Thank you.
But yeah, we will definitely send that paperwork for your review.
Is there any further discussion? If not, we're going to take a vote. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, and the motion passes.
Thank you.
At this time, we have 3 AAB board members who are going to be leaving us. And I'm very sad about this because one, Rick Lewis, I have known for at least 40 years, Rick. When Rick was starting out at the THC so many years ago. So we will really miss Rick. We also have Joaquin Rivaya Martinez is going off, and I've just gotten to know him really well, and we appreciate everything that you have done, and we will miss you and hope we can stay in contact. And also, Eleanor Stoddard is rotating off as the agency for Texas Parks and Wildlife representative, and I've just gotten to know Eleanor really well and really have enjoyed having her on the AAB board, and want to thank all 3 for all of their service. And of course, Rick, I learned last night, has been on the AAB board. I knew it was for a long time, but it's been 16 years. So we will definitely miss all of y'all. So thank you very much, Elizabeth.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yes, thank you to all 3 of you. I wanted to extend a particular thanks to Rick Lewis, who I have known for my entire life. He and his wife Jane are friends with my parents, and so, I grew up knowing Rick. And when I was considering a career in historic preservation, he counseled me on my education. He advised me to apply for a job at the Texas Historical Commission. And so I owe just a huge debt of gratitude for your mentorship and your friendship over the years. And it's been so lovely in these 3.5 years as division director to know that each quarter I'd have an opportunity to catch up with you. And as one of the architect members, I always knew that you would take a very careful look at some of the challenging historic buildings and structures permits in front of you, and you would have thoughtful feedback for us.
Very proud of you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. On behalf of the AAB, is there any further business? There being none, it is now 10:38, and this meeting of the AAB is adjourned.
And the commission will take a 10-minute recess to get rearranged, and so we will be back here at 10:48.
folks in Bastrop.
Yeah, probably.
And the community.
Ann Olson, she was a lightning rod over there. She ran a Bill Miller's barbecue. She was there counting. She was so wonderful. We saved that big bridge. That was one of our hallmarks in Bastrop. Feds want to come to and tear it down. We fought that one. Those are our bridge plans. That was really fun to be part of that whole statewide. You, first week you came with it, and you were doing maybe I said the story, or maybe you and I just visited. Maybe it was the very first time we met.
All right.
You were adding on to
Ready to wrap this baby up?
over in East Austin, making an addition to the historic building. And we brought it in, and we struck it up, good conversation. And we went from there. And I still remember. I can't remember. I met yesterday, but I can remember that.
David?
Yes, sir.
When we adjourn, can I talk to you for just a minute? Okay, thanks.
If everybody will take their seats, we're going to get back. It's 10:49.
Good to, yeah.
Thank you.
Good to
Okay.
have you.
Do you have the script?
We'll be in touch.
The script for,
Want me to take over?
whenever you're ready, go for it.
Yeah, because I'm going to go to the, oh, that's right. It's all yours.
Oh, you're going to make, okay.
You need the experience.
Yes. Okay, so due to some scheduling issues and some other things, the commission does have an executive session it needs to call, and so we're going to have to bring that forward into this to right now. So I'm going to end up reading us into executive session. So it is 10:49, and the Texas Historical Commission will now go into a closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551 related to certain agenda items. At the end of the closed session, the executive committee will, the commission will reconvene in open session, and I'd like to ask the staff to disable the recording devices and the public please clear the room.
This won't take long.
Okay, so the time is now 10:24, and we are back on the record in open session. No action was taken in the closed session with respect to these items, and no further action is warranted. We have to do the, yeah, okay, so strike that last part. Are there any additional remarks from my fellow commissioners? And no, there's not. If you'll show me the motion so I can read it, and I'll make it quickly. Okay, move to authorize the property acquisition plan for the Presidio La Bahia State Historic Site.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Can I take a vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That one passes. If I could see the next one. So, there's a motion up there. Could I get a motion?
Move that the commission approve the property development plan for the First Capital of Texas State Historic Site. Second.
So I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And that one passes. And now I'm going to turn it back to Chairman now. Keep going.
And I'm going to go straight to the executive director's report.
All right. Just to give everyone an overview of new staff that has joined the agency, we've got 22 new positions, and we've identified them in the different divisions and departments. So finance and accounting, we have 2 individuals. Historic Sites Division, and most of those are all support staff that have been hired on board. Continuing on, we have the Historic Sites Division. There's a total of 16 individuals who will be joining us. There's one in Human Resource. We have Robert Black, who is our new safety officer, who has been working diligently to get the agency up to speed in regards to our interactions with risk management, which has been very helpful. 3 individuals from information technology. And then we had 1 individual join us with procurement and contract services, and then Joy had a new staff member who joined her with the Holocaust, Genocide, Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission. Next, just to give everyone an overview of activities, we've been working diligently with the governor's office. We've been working with them on the SpaceX, the federal land transfer, as well as the University of Texas nominations. The chairman is engaged with the chancellor in regards to that. City of Fredericksburg, we are working with them on incorporating the Fort Martin Scott with the abandoned Rangers facility and coming up with a plan of action as we kind of merge those 2 properties together. Washington and the Brazos, we are working with the foundation on the operating agreement, and then they have the upcoming Sundown Social, which I'll be sending out information on that to see if any commissioners would like to join us. The Diocese of Victoria, we finalized the property sale, and we had a great event coordinating our transfer of the keys on Wednesday, which was very lovely. Caddo Mounds, we continue to work with the Caddo Nation. We are working to detail the Phase 2 and the Phase 3 scoping, which includes that cemetery, Nakwa Cemetery. SpaceX, the chairman is continued conversations with management there. They are currently drafting a programmatic agreement in regards to the transfer of 700 acres of federal land, and we are very concerned about the impact on the National Register or the National Landmark property. We continue conversations with Prairie View University. We have an upcoming meeting in March talking about the MOU that we have there with them to see what can be done to strengthen our operating arrangement with them in regards to the development of their visitor center on campus, as well as the development of the Levi Jordan Plantation Visitor Center.
Let me interject here. I'll remind the commission that we found a piece of legislation that's still in effect that says all activities addressing the African-American / slavery experience has to come through Prairie View. That caused a change in how we are having to approach a couple of sites. That's the background.
Yep.
Just before the New Year's, I had a very good site visit of the Alamo with Senator Colcore. She was very excited about the work there. The next slide, quickly going through, we've been approached by the Port of Houston to see what we could do to incorporate a tourist boat docking facility there. So we'll explore that to see if that's even possible at this point in time. We've met with the judge with Goliad County. We're finalizing the final land transfer. Memorial Park, we're working with them on the interpretive signage in Houston. We have an upcoming meeting with the Houston Airport Authority to discuss the 1940 air terminal. And then the San Jacinto Museum and Battlefield Association, we continue our working with them to strategize on next steps in regards to their capital campaign. Avril Nimitz Foundation, we're working with them on preparing for the LAR needs for that facility. And then the Marine Military Academy, working on the scoping of the museum and visitor center there. And then we continue tribal coordination on a regular basis with staff.
And don't we have a trip up there?
Yes, we have a trip to Caddo Mounds, which is scheduled for April 2nd, where the chairman will be meeting with the chairman of the Caddo Nation.
All right. Under my chairman's report, obviously, we welcome a new member, Jamie Steen. Been involved in many historic activities, most importantly, San Jacinto. I want to personally congratulate Joseph on the work at Goliad. I personally didn't think it was going to be able to come around that fast, and you made it happen. So thank you very much. Let's see.
I forgot about Chris.
Well, yeah, you did. Go ahead.
The one thing I did forget, I wanted to welcome Chris Elliott to the executive management team. He is now the Chief Historic Sites Officer, and I am looking forward to working with him on really building a stronger and more dynamic program area.
Congratulations. I hope you can say that in a couple of months.
He can't say it now.
That's right. Yes, Leroy doesn't want the ball. We will move to the report of the Friends. Angeli? Well, welcome.
Thank you. I think we're still morning, so good morning, Chairman and members of the Commission. I'm Donna Carter, and I am the Chair of the Friends of the Texas Historical Commission. And it is, as usual, my pleasure and, just totally excited hearing about the work of the Commission. But to be here before you, I'm halfway through my second year, so, maybe one more time, and then you can get rid of me for good. But it is the honor of the Friends to be strong and present partner to the THC and to help further the mission and vision that you all have for preservation and telling our stories. I'm happy to report that the Friends, we continue to thrive. We grow our fundraising efforts. We grow our friend-raising efforts as well. Our executive director, Anjali Zutzi, will make a full report about all the things that have been done and that we continue to do with our very, very small but mighty staff. I would take just a moment to highlight our efforts to continue to be nimble, to provide creative, oftentimes out-of-the-box solutions to some of THC's preservation challenges. We've continued to acquire critical properties and convey them to the THC. And like the most recent purchase of 5 acres as an addition to the Washington on the Brazos State Historic Site. I can't emphasize our ability to be able to move really with kind of business-like quickness to address these issues and opportunities as they come forward. We're working with THC on multiple agreements that allow us to move to more quickly and responsively engage appropriate partners on projects. One of which will be the completion of the Washington on the Brazos town site. We continue to actively support, through our fundraising and with planning and logistical support, programs like the Real Places Conference. I hope to see all of you there. It's exciting. This is our 10th anniversary, the 10th year that we'll be doing this, and it's continued to grow. And if I could say the level of product that we're actually able to share with our partners, with new partners, with practitioners and professionals within the preservation community, it really continues to grow, and it really is becoming one of the fine preservation conferences that I get to attend. Our support of capital projects like the Phase 2 development at Caddo Mounds or the Museum and Visitor Center at Levi Jordan, that continues both with our activity and our fundraising, but also contributing to the advisory committees for those. We're very excited about all of the projects and programs that we have in our portfolio currently. In all of this, our focus as a board is to guide the Friends towards sustainability at all times. And we are constantly making sure that we're prepared for those inevitabilities that show up. And we continue to build our organization in support of the work of the Commission. To that end, we're still short-staffed. Our immediate goal is to fill the 2 open positions, and so that we can become fully staffed and actually have people that are devoted to very specific activities, such as our fundraising, our corporate fundraising. And it's really important because it will continue to bring in the critical resources that we will need to support your work. As you hear the detailed report from Anjali, she and I are ready to answer any questions that you may have. Of course, I'm always available. Many people know how to get in touch with me, so if there are any questions or any suggestions about how we can continue to be good partners to you, please don't hesitate to make those requests. And again, as usual, thank you, and all of you, for your work, your volunteer. You all are punching way above your pay grade, because I know what that pay grade is for your work. But thank you for the support of the work that we get to do. And now, Anjali.
Well, I think we should thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Because you've sat in this chair, and now you're sitting in another chair. So, and we know what your pay grade is.
It's been my pleasure. That's absolutely great.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I do want to start by also saying thank you to Donna and to our board. It is absolutely a privilege to work with that group and work with this group and everybody else that we look to for guidance and content when we go out fundraising. So with that, I'm going to keep this really, really quick.
Kevin?
Overdid it. Oh. Okay, here we go. Starting with our ongoing fundraising activities, we are working on building support for Plus in sponsorships and exhibitor commitments, and we are still working on adding to that as we continue. This is just a quick list of some of the sponsors we have for 2026. If y'all engage with any of these sponsors, please thank them on our behalf. They have been doing this for many, many years, and we are really appreciative. We also have 22 partners in preservation. These are allied organizations, other preservation organizations that work with us in spreading the word about the conference so that they reach out to their memberships and their mailing lists to tell them about what's happening at the conference and ask them to engage and register. So we are able to use them as outreach efforts as well. As far as historic sites is concerned, again, I've mentioned this before, but that historic sites forms a majority of the fundraising work that we do. Presently, we just this last quarter submitted a request to the Library of Congress Teaching with Primary Sources grant program for funding for the development of digital education programming in partnership with UNT. We also have a request that we submitted in November or December, to the National Endowment for the Humanities. This is for a planning grant to support similar work. The idea is to plan for America 250 to Texas 200 programming. What would the education programs at historic sites look like? So that's what we are hoping to get, and the goal is to then go back to NEH for an implementation grant if we get this one. We also submitted a nomination, which was the final step in the process, to the Texas Historical Foundation, nominating McGoffin Home for the Duda Preservation Award, and we are keeping our fingers crossed that it is looked at favorably. Joseph mentioned Caddo Mounds. We support historic sites on fundraising, of course, but any other work that they need us to support them on. For this project, we've submitted another request to the Summerlee Foundation. This is a continuing effort, capital fundraising effort. We also have a request in front of the Mellon Foundation. Our recent visit to Caddo Mounds helps us move that conversation forward, and we hope to go back to them with some updates and get them to move their consideration to the next step. There's another project at Caddo Mounds, which is funded by the National Park Service Heritage Trails Program that we are coordinating. This is the development of a stretch of trail along, accessible trail along Caddo Mounds, which connects to the El Camino Real, and there's some interpretive work that is going on that Steve Cure and his team is guiding us on as well. We have several funding agreements in place with the Texas Historical Commission for different projects. Donna mentioned the Washington on the Brazos town site. We are supporting the completion of the last two structures within the town site, the Hall and Lot Tavern and the ferry crossing. That work is ongoing. And I believe the tavern will be completed by the end of February, and then they start work on the ferry crossing after that. We are finalizing the engagement of our consultant to provide the owner's rep expertise on other capital projects. And then we also have a funding agreement now in place that houses $250,000 in funds for the French Legation State Historic Site. This was a contribution that came to THC, which is now housed with the Friends to support activities, programs, projects at French Legation. We continue to work on some acquisition projects for the Bush family home, Eisenhower Birthplace, Presidio La Bahia. Donna mentioned that in the last quarter, in September, we transferred the 5-acre Dioria property to THC for Washington on the Brazos. We are supporting historic sites and maintaining a comprehensive list of acquisition priorities, and we're also working, as I shared with the chairman yesterday, on increasing our line of credit to allow for additional flexibility on some of these projects, which are starting to get more and more expensive. So we'll keep you posted on that. I just wanted to give you all a quick update on behalf of the Washington on the Brazos Historical Foundation on their fundraising efforts. They are 99% of the way to their goal. They have 217,000 plus some remaining on their campaign goal to raise. And as from what I heard earlier this week, they are waiting on some decisions from a couple of foundations that hopefully will take them across this finish line. A couple of highlights. Abel Hanger Foundation had awarded a $250,000 challenge grant. That challenge has been met, and I wanted to thank Commissioner Donnelly for his support and help on behalf of the foundation on meeting that challenge. The foundation still has about $400,000 plus in requests planned and in the works right now, and they're continuing their outreach efforts within Washington County as well. The pending requests are with the Herstein Foundation and Edward Schall Foundation and the Alkek Foundation, and then cultivation in process with some of these other funders as well. Our Preservation Scholars Program is rolling out. Our application window is open right now through February 20th. The program will start on June 1st and go through August 8th, 10 weeks of internship opportunity for up to 8 students. We're going to continue to stick with that number, and we do have, thanks to the endowments that we have in place and some of our additional funders, we do have money that will allow us to bring in 8 students again in 2026. This, I did want to share, this is going to be our 20th anniversary of that program, which was started by Chairman Now and Donna Carter and Laretha Clay a while ago. So thank you all for doing this. It's one of our flagship programs within the Friends. We continue to offer our virtual events. We had 3 in September, October, November, and we'll talk about the December event and our January event at the next commission meeting, but we continue to offer these events free of cost and have really good engagement from a variety of audiences depending on the topic and what we're presenting. And then these are our numbers. I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't want to go into details about these, but as Donna shared with you, the financials are healthy, and we continue to do the work that we do. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Let me just say thank you for the time you all put in on the significant number of land deals that are going on right now. It would be impossible without you in place, so thank you.
Thank you.
Let's just get them done. Okay. Friends, now we move to the Holocaust, Genocide, and Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission. Morning, Ken, or are we still morning?
She's here to answer any questions they have when I'm done.
I'm his bodyguard.
10 minutes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. My name's Ken Goldberg, and I have the honor of serving as the chair of the Texas Holocaust, Genocide, Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission. And with me today is Joy Nathan, our outstanding executive director, who I wouldn't want to perform this role without her. In fact, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't do it without her. Today marks the final day of Holocaust Remembrance Week for 2026 and the 7th year of the mandate for all public schools in Texas, K through 12, to provide Holocaust education. The law names the THG AAC as the approver and creator of statewide Holocaust instruction materials. In the last legislative session, our commission issued a report to the legislature on the implementation of Holocaust Remembrance Week across Texas. And we found, this is interesting, we found that there's a significant opportunity, a challenge for us to do more. 1/3 of the Texas schools were unaware of Holocaust Remembrance Week, completely unacceptable. 1/3 were somewhat aware, and 1/3 were very aware. We've worked to build deeper partnerships with the TEA and the Texas Association of Rural Schools, and appreciate their help in circulating and sharing the THG AAC's resources for Holocaust. Tuesday, January 27th, was International Holocaust Remembrance Day which marks the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau 81 years ago. One of the responsibilities of the THG AAC is to annually coordinate events across Texas, and we fulfill this responsibility by sharing commemoration programs on our website calendar and through press and social media. We want to thank the THC for issuing a press release on Holocaust remembrance this week, and the lessons of bringing history to the Texas classrooms. It included quotes from Chair Now, from the governor, and from myself. I also co-authored an op-ed on Holocaust education with Randy Willis, who's the executive director of the Texas Association of Rural Schools, that was featured in the Austin American-Statesman, as well as other publications throughout the state. We're moving forward with plans to use the $1 million grant we received from the legislature to combat anti-Semitism on college campuses, and are finalizing the offerings with campus partners and leadership to reach diverse students and faculty across Texas. We are contracting with Shiraka, a non-governmental organization that promotes normalization and dialogue in the Middle East, and Hate Ends Now, a traveling replica of a Holocaust cattle car. And we'll bring these interactive programs to South Texas campuses with a focus on UT San Antonio, UT Rio Grande Valley, and Texas A&M International in Laredo. And Commissioner Garcia, I will tell you that when we had a grant, our Friends Group had a grant from the Moody Foundation a couple of years ago, the students and faculty in UT Rio Grande Valley was so well received. They were the most appreciative, most grateful students and faculty of all the places that we went. So we're looking forward to presenting to them again. And that cattle car provided by our Friends Group and the grant from the state will also be visiting UTD and UNT in North Texas, where there have been incidents of anti-Semitism. Our plans also include faculty training for the Texas Tech University system and bringing speakers to Texas A&M and College Station, UT Austin, and SMU. This spring, we are prioritizing the calendaring and coordination of events for Genocide Awareness Month in April, and we'll share commemoration programming for the Armenian genocide, the Cambodian genocide, and Rwandan genocide, and Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. May, which is Jewish American Heritage Month, is an opportunity to counter Jewish hate by recognizing Jewish contributions to Texas cultural, history, military, science, government, and more. You didn't mention sports. We will continue to work with a cross-section of organizations to build awareness, and will be sharing programs and educational initiatives for all Texans. The THG AAC is tasked with creating the Study on Anti-Semitism, a legislative report for all members of the Texas Legislature, which is due November 1st of this year. This report will include legislative recommendations to prevent and counter anti-Semitism. Governor Abbott charged our commission to share expertise and effective strategies to address anti-Semitism, and we are in conversations with state leadership on draft legislative items that will be included in the report. We appreciate y'all's support and partnership. I want to recognize Joseph Bell, who hasn't missed 1 minute of any of our meetings, and Kathy Minot, who joined at a recent meeting in Dallas. So thank you for your friendship, support, and partnership. Our next quarterly meeting will be in Austin on March 4th. You guys are all welcome. We've invited the governor, and we look forward to keeping working with you guys. Thanks.
We have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but thank you for the shout out for UTRGV and the Valley, and again, if you're in the area, please.
Thank you.
You said
I got a quick question.
Thank you.
On the cattle car, which is extremely moving,
Yes.
that's not the best word for it, but how would that be moved around, and how would that work? Curious.
So we partner with an organization, it's called Hate Ends Now, and they created this replica, which can be moved on the back of a pickup truck. So it is a self-contained, solar-powered piece, and so the dynamics of the organization is such that there is one driver and 3 docents. So they are able to travel, and because Texas is so large, it's a very interesting and exciting opportunity to move the car from Dallas to South Texas, and just to understand the geography of doing that. But we're excited to bring it.
And one follow-up question, will there be some way to be able to, for people to know, obviously, that it's out there, and then be able to request it to be seen, shown, and bring people up to speed? Because when you have a third of the people who get it, and basically 2/3 who don't, we need to move that needle.
We'll be working hard with all the communities that are involved where we're going to take the car, and we've got some partner groups that'll be helping with the marketing of getting people out. I think we can get 200 or 300 people through this remote Holocaust Museum a day, and we'll have it here for about 3 weeks in April.
So,
Yeah,
Joy,
stay
can
tuned.
you get the commissioners like just a calendar, like when it's going to be in Dallas? or when
Absolutely.
it's going to be,
Yes, we
so
will.
that
We will
can
communicate
go?
out the plan, and we'll bring that forth. Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Do we have an action item from them?
No, it's in exec reports.
Oh, okay.
Angela, will you be available the first part of the week on the lands?
Yes, sir.
You will? Thank you. All right. Consent items. Commission may approve agenda items 9.2 to 9.8 by a majority vote on a single motion. Any commissioner may request that an item be pulled from this consent agenda for consideration as a separate item. Commissioners, are there any consent items that should be taken into consideration as a separate item? I hear none. Will approve agenda items 9.2 through 9.8. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Discussion? Being none, call for a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Your chairman's very aware of the timing, so we're going to move it. Okay. The Vice Chair, Services and Communications.
So we had a really good meeting yesterday, had a lot of discussion about a number of the issues. The one issue that got a lot of discussion within the committee was the survey of employee engagement. It identifies a couple of things that really need some further action. Administrative staff and agency services is looking into it. There's not a lot for us to do right at the moment, or not a lot to discuss right now, because we really don't truly understand these numbers yet. But this is the page just passed out the actual survey with all the data behind it. So if you'd like to be interested, and then I'm sure Dr. Carroll will be back later with action items that we can address. And that's it.
Yeah, my suggestion from a business model, not a governmental, let's prioritize those that the biggest needs on down and attack the top 3. Otherwise, don't make a lot of progress.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Archaeology, right? Yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Very quickly, we had a very good meeting. Brad gave us some updates on a number of things, Texas Archaeology Month, Landowner Assistance Program, so a really interesting meeting. He did make mention, very preliminary information, which he'll present later, about THC's involvement and support of the discovery of the Mission Espiritu Santo de Zúñiga, which was a confirmation. And I just want to quickly say that I was in the field with the archaeology division staff for on and off between, a couple of weeks, different people on and off. And I just have to say, and I want this commission to know, some of the finest archaeologists I have ever been in the field with. They're all just absolutely so good at what they're doing, and I just want to thank Brad for all of their assistance and for all their help, and just to let the commission know they are so good. That's it.
And the commission also needs to thank Brad for our relationship with the Caddo Nation and everything. The meetings that we've had, the feedback we've had from the nation. I mean, you guys have really blazed a trail working with them, and it's going to lead to some exciting things at Caddo Mounds. So thanks for that work too.
So I have a question about the mission archaeology. And I read about it in the Dallas Morning News because Tech did a good press release. Did we not do a press release on it?
So this was a tech project. Essentially, in the archaeology meeting I explained yesterday that we really set them up through years of previous work, but the principal investigator on this phase and continuing phases of the project is one of our colleagues, Tamara Walter at Texas Tech University. So we're really supporting them and helping them out, but it felt appropriate for them as the lead. And they got a large Summerlee Foundation grant to conduct that work, and they supported our staff in the field through that grant. It felt appropriate. But you will be seeing a medallion article which will lay out in stellar detail all of the contributions that we have, and we'll continue to support them throughout this whole process. And I think now that they got, I think Dr. Walter really deserved an opportunity to take the limelight. She's been searching for this for years, and it's really important for her to get that. But, moving forward, I think we'll have plenty of opportunity to share.
All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And thank you for all the very kind words from everyone. I appreciate that.
Okay, architecture, Commissioner Limbacher.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a good meeting yesterday, and some of our action items were passed on consent, but Ms. Brummett is here to explain two supplemental funding requests, which the committee supported and recommends to the full commission for two of our courthouses under construction.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Just briefly, we have a supplemental funding request for Polk County, which is a round 11 full restoration grant. This is for unforeseen conditions that have arisen during construction and increased the project cost. Staff is in support of providing $413,472 in supplemental funding to the county. And if there are any questions about the specifics of this request, Jessica Hutchins, the Grants and Contracts Coordinator for the county, is here in the audience. The second request is for the Freestone County Courthouse, which underestimated their cost for the Round 13 grant. And when they went out to bid, they received a range of bids and selected a very reasonable price for the project, but it's well in excess of what they had originally anticipated. So staff supports providing $3,186,049 to that project, which will still increase the percentage match that the county is committing to the project. And I should mention that Karen Elizabeth Moore, the judge's assistant, is here for any questions on that project.
Thank you, Ms. Brummett. And Commissioners, just by way of explanation, I'll say that each of these requests were submitted using new forms and a new procedure that the staff has put into place, which I think is tremendously helpful. Each of these requests has been evaluated, and they conform to our requirements in terms of the counties honoring their previous matches, and also conform to our requirement with respect to maintaining the cap. And in the case of Freestone County, who's just starting their construction project, we did inquire, and they have reserved additional funding in both their grant and in their county-provided funds for a contingency for any unforeseen elements that might occur during construction. So the committee felt comfortable with this, and we bring to you all the motion on the screen. Move to award supplemental funding to Polk County in the amount of $413,472, which will require a minimum local match of 53% of the increased cost, and also Move to award supplemental funding to Freestone County in the amount of $3,186,049, which will require a minimum local match of 19.6% of the increased cost.
Second.
And I'm happy to help with questions, as is Ms. Brummett or the county representatives.
Okay, I'll go ahead and call for a vote. We have a motion and second. We'll do both, I guess they're both in the same.
She did it
Okay,
in one motion.
yeah, just one motion. Okay, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And I'm assuming we have the money in the bank.
Yes, sir, we certainly do.
Should have asked that first, I guess. All right,
Thank you very
What
much.
else?
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
That was almost painless. Community Heritage Development. Mr. Peterson.
We had a brief update from Linda yesterday, and it's going to be briefer this morning. We have no action items. We do apparently have one day for the First Lady's Tour. I'm not certain exactly what that day is, but that's all that's available from her office. So, that's an interesting phenomenon. But beyond that, I have no further information.
Commissioner Peterson, real quick question. It was brought up to me by one of the trail regions, Texas Tropical Trails in particular. I think this goes under community heritage. There's concern that it's not getting around, that the border is safe relatively, that they're not getting, I guess, the turnout. Would that fall under talking about?
Missing, all I'm hearing.
Okay.
About the border.
That there is concern from them, and he stepped out, that they would like help from the Texas Historical Commission to maybe promote or say things are reasonably getting safer on the border, at least in South Texas, and that way people could attend their programs. I guess that's how I gathered it, and he's not here, but I don't know if there's anything. I don't know if there's anything we can say. I don't know what.
It's in our footprint.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
think.
It was something brought up to me today, and so I said, oh, interesting.
Pete?
All good.
Do we have action items? None? All right.
Now you're on the sides.
Yeah, now we're going straight to sites.
That's me too.
That's you too.
Because John's not
That's
here.
why I was moving on the action items,
Okay.
yep.
Now we'll move to the, yeah.
Those two.
We have a number of action items
Yeah,
here.
the other,
So,
yeah.
um,
Thank you.
I will move us forward on San Felipe. I move to approve the commission to accept the donation of Lot 15 at San Felipe de Austin Historic Site from the Friends of San Felipe de Austin.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And likewise, I would move to approve the acceptance of the Texas Rangers facility for the operation of Fort Martin Scott State Historic Site.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Pete?
Okay, keep going. We still need
Nope.
to get to First Capital.
And history?
We don't have to do the first capital. We don't. have
We
to.
already did that.
We did that earlier.
Yeah,
For the commission or
Uh-huh.
just for executive?
No, we did it.
yeah.
In that case, I've got nothing to say.
All done here.
Big sec, yeah.
Well, Chairman, I guess that's history programs now, and we had a good, quick review. Charles is going to give us a quick report on the undertold marker. And then we do have one action item, which the committee has forwarded it to the commission, basically denying a request to remove a recorded Texas historic landmark. But Charles will get us through this.
Oh, I turned off my mic. All right, just quickly on the undertold markers. We received 76 nominations and selected 15 for recommendation before you. There's no motion on this item, but I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Explain, go back one, please. 76 submitted, 15 recommendations. There's 60-some in the middle. What happened?
We fund 15 each year based on receiving application fees from marker applications, and then our wonderful friends raise the rest of the money. So we've been recommending 15 for a number of years now.
Doesn't mean that's right.
Nope, we can always do more. There are a lot of worthy topics each year.
For the whole commission, Joseph, please, you just use the cost factor.
Correct.
All right, let's get a report on the general trend on how many come in, where do we have the funding, and how do we generate it, and should we consider putting more into it, since this is an important aspect of what we do. All right?
We'll get that information to you.
And how selected, how they're selected.
Charles, I just wanted to say again, the markers are always fascinating to read. I miss being on this committee. I'm not compelled. I'm
We
not
miss you too.
required to read them every time, but it's always fascinating, so keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And I love the app, too.
Okay, Charles, go ahead.
The next item is for an RTHL removal for the Lenny Roberts School. You may recognize this because it came before us in 2024. The commission then rejected this request. The ISD came back to us again with an additional reasoning, which is that they have an imminent financial need to sell the building and attempt to market it. Yesterday during discussion, Brad Patterson reminded us that they are not restricted from doing demolition or alterations to the property. They would just need to go through the review process and wait the 90 days. And he also noted that if a new owner were to purchase this property without the RTHL designation, they cannot take advantage of incentives that we have for historic buildings and would have to go through the entire process again. And as Commissioner Garcia mentioned, the committee unanimously agreed to reject this request yesterday.
Discussion? All right, we go through, excuse me, Garrett, why don't you do we got two motions. Options, I mean.
We're going to move to deny the request for removal of the historic marker for the Lenny Roberts Elementary School, Bay City, Matagorda County.
Second.
Motion and a second. A quick comment. Make certain we send a clear letter that this does not affect the value, because that's what I would assume they're challenging. Enhances it, doesn't it? We've got to take a real strong position on that.
Will do.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Being none, call for a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
And make sure we get the report on, or at least the executive committee gets the financial needs, all right? Okay. What are we having here? Oh,
AAB.
Okay, go ahead, Joseph.
We've got the recommendations for the AAB committee, so I'll turn it over to Brad.
Yes, so as we discussed yesterday in the meeting, there are 7 public members appointed to the Antiquities Advisory Board who serve 2-year terms. Those members' terms are up February 1st of this year. So of those, we have 3 existing members who are up for reappointment. This is the Council of Texas Archaeologists position, Christina Nielsen, Texas Archaeological Society Representative Douglas Boyd, and a historian position filled by Bob Ward of the Travis County Historical Commission. In addition to that, we have a series of new member appointments that we are recommending. For the Archaeology Agency position, Dr. Scott Pletka of Texas Department of Transportation is up for appointment. He's a very long tenured archaeologist in the state and an excellent option for this. We have, you just want me to run through them? William DuPont, who is an architect. That's about all I can do as an archaeologist. Also a well-regarded member. I've heard a lot of nice things said about him. Yeah, good things. We have Laura Carrera, who is also an architect, and she's already on the TPTF review board, and also very good things said about her. And I believe that is it. Of the 7 positions, we have 6 that we have proposed appointments for. We still have a historian that we have not finalized an appointment for, so you'll just be voting on 6 of the 7 open positions. And with that, we have a motion.
I have a question first.
Excellent.
Pletka being with Parks, does that create, because of our interaction on certain land deals, does that create a problem?
He's with Texas Department of Transportation.
Now, you also have Parks.
Well, actually,
They're
Eleanor
coming up.
Stoddard. Eleanor Stoddard just rolled off. She was with Parks and Wildlife.
Pletka, I'm sorry, misread it. Thank you.
Yeah. And none of these folks in their positions are entirely regulatory, so they don't have any sort of, I don't believe, any conflict.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm pretty sensitive to that one.
Understandable.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I had one question.
please.
All of these people are eminently qualified and lovely people. I know some of them. I want to make sure that Ms. Carrera is not going to be overburdened by serving on 2 of our advisory boards.
Thank you for that question. I had the same concern as well when her name surfaced as a potential participant on this board. I had a long conversation with her. She understands the amount of time commitment that's required for this in addition to the Texas Preservation Trust Fund Advisory Board. She's willing to take on these 4 additional meetings per year, and the Texas Preservation Trust Fund Advisory Board, while it does have a lot of background reading, is 1 meeting per year. So she is fully prepared, and I would be very honored to serve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay,
I'll
go ahead.
move to appoint the members as presented to the Antiquities Advisory Board for terms to expire February 1st, 2028.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Being none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, I'm Joy Nathan. I'm with the Texas Holocaust, Genocide, and Anti-Semitism Advisory Commission, and I'm here to discuss for your consideration the opening of a summer grant cycle. So for just some background, our commission has granted in 2023 and 2025. The practice was to wait for the second year of the biennium when we knew how much money we had available to be able to grant in that capacity. What we found was that those projects then were fulfilled 2 years after the fiscal year had closed. So if a project became not viable, there was no way to pivot and the money was returned to the state. So we want to change that practice and have the money follow the same budget cycle. So when I was in front of you in November, we asked, and we have now opened up a grant cycle for the spring. So this is a timeline of what the spring looks like. When we see each other next in April, we will ask you to approve the awards. Our commission will look for the award, our part of it, in March, and then we will ask for your approval in April. So for your consideration is the opening of a summer grant cycle. Again, a similar approach, meaning that in our June quarterly meeting, we will review the applicants and make decisions on awards, and then we will present to you in July And what this does is just align cycles best with this current fiscal year.
Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to move to approve the recommended opening of a THG AAC education grant cycle.
We have a motion and a second, and the money exists.
The money exists.
Just wanted to make certain.
It's important.
Okay, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have Angeli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I can move this over. As you all know, the commission appoints one more than half of the trustees of the Friends of the THC board. And to that end, we have a nomination for your approval. It was recommended by the executive committee yesterday to bring forth to the full commission. This is the nomination of Mr. Benjamin T. Matthews, who is from McKinney, Texas, as a commission-appointed trustee of the Friends of the THC for the Class 3 term, which is fiscal 2026 to 2028. His term would begin effective immediately and would go through until August 31st of 2028. And Commissioner Donnelly has had conversations with him, if you'd like to share.
Let me do I'll do a move to approve the new appointee of Benjamin T. Matthews as Commission Trustee of the Friends of the Texas Historical Commission for the Class 3 term, fiscal year 2026 to 2028, beginning effective immediately and ending on August 31st, 2028.
Second.
So, just to say, so.
Go ahead.
We have a motion and a second, and I have spoken with him a couple of times. He's very excited about serving. I think I mentioned yesterday, he purchased the Collins County, the original Collins County prison, and has turned it into his office space, and he's very, very proud of that facility, and owns a couple of marketing agency type activities, and so I think he's going to be a real treasure for Anjali as she really tries to extend the brand and the power of the Friends. So,
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Please welcome Mr. Matthews.
Thank you. I will. Thank you so much.
We are 16.5, consider approval of recommendations, 2025 Texas Historical Commission, the Preservation Awards. Charles.
I'm excited to bring the slate before you again today. As a reminder, all the winners are invited to a special dinner at the Real Places conference in April. I should note that the Governor's Award recommendations still need approval from the Governor's office, so the motion I have before you reflects that.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I move to approve THC Awards Committee recommendations with the exception of the Governor's Award recommendations, which are contingent upon approval by the Office of the Texas Governor.
Second.
Motion and a second, and as a footnote, I will reach out to the Governor's office, see if there's an issue. With that exception, that's the motion. We have a second. Any discussion?
I just want to say, I think this is a very important thing that we do. It kind of furthers the recognition of individual efforts that people and organizations make that is consistent with our mission. And so I think it's very important.
I would agree with that. Nice for us to provide that recognition to people that do this out of not business but personal interest, for sure.
Correct. Following in your footsteps, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
Legal matters.
Those are done.
I think we
That's done.
Yes, sir.
Kristen, anything else
No, sir. Everything's done.
for the whole commission? Well, sorry we moved through this so fast. No, I'm not. Is there any further business? Being no business further, it is 12:24 and we are adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners.
Checked